The Secrets Within the Four Paths of Yoga by Carl Gustav Jung. An intimate journey into the silent architecture of the ancient yogic paths, reimagined through a Jungian lens that reveals their psychological depth and symbolic power. The Secrets Within the Four Paths of Yoga explores Jnana, Bhakti, Karma, and Raja Yoga as inner landscapes where the psyche seeks wholeness through knowledge, devotion, action, and stillness. This reading uncovers how each path mirrors the great movements of individuation, the dance between ego and self, shadow and light, longing and realization. As these teachings unfold, they expose the hidden mechanisms of transformation encoded in myth, archetype, and discipline, guiding the seeker toward the luminous center where yoga and Jungian psychology meet in a single, timeless quest for self-realization. A complete digital audiobook production by the Mercurius Foundation. This audiobook has been carefully crafted for your listening experience. We encourage you to pause, rewind, and revisit the passages that speak to you most. For yogas, the pathways to self-realization. In the vast tapestry of spiritual traditions, the four yogas stand as timeless pillars guiding seekers towards self-realization. These ancient practices, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga, offer distinct paths, each designed to align the soul with its highest truth. Raja Yoga, the royal path, centers on mastering the mind through meditation and concentration, building an unshakable inner silence. It's not just a practice, it's a complete way of being. Imagine your mind as a restless river, with Raja Yoga teaching you to calm its currents, transforming chaos into stillness. Unlike other paths that engage emotion or intellect, Raja Yoga directly tackles the root of suffering, the turbulent mind. Those who delve into it often find themselves shedding layers of ego consciousness, revealing the pure awareness beneath. The journey is rigorous, demanding unwavering commitment, yet the rewards are profound: self-mastery, liberation, and a glimpse into the infinite. While Raja Yoga forms the heart of disciplined practice, the other yogas complement and balance the soul's journey. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, embraces the soul's yearning for divine connection, transforming love into a force of transcendence. Jnana Yoga, rooted in wisdom and discernment, slices through ignorance with the sword of self-inquiry. It challenges preconceived notions, urging practitioners to look beyond the illusion of the ego and witness the true I, the pure awareness that lies beyond thought. Karma Yoga, meanwhile, purifies through selfless action, dissolving the spiritual ego that clings to recognition and validation. These paths are not mutually exclusive but are intertwined, forming a harmonious system that embraces the totality of human experience. Each individual, guided by their inner calling, can explore one or merge several, crafting a practice that resonates with their soul's unique vibration. Many sages and pundits throughout history have emphasized that integrating these four yogas fosters a balanced and complete spiritual practice. It's not enough to immerse oneself in meditation without understanding the subtle traps of the spiritual ego, nor to devote oneself to selfless service without cultivating inner silence. Ramana Maharshi, revered as a master of self-inquiry, recognized the necessity of blending paths to achieve liberation. His teachings remind us that pure awareness arises when effort, devotion, knowledge, and selfless action converge harmoniously. This fusion transcends the false I, the illusory identity shaped by thoughts and social conditioning, unveiling the true I, which remains untouched by the sleight of hand performed by the mind. Just as a skilled musician blends notes into harmony, the yogi must blend practices to resonate with the truth. In practical terms, the journey through the four yogas requires commitment and intention. Start by observing your natural inclinations. Do you gravitate toward contemplation, devotion, knowledge, or action? Let your soul guide you toward the practice that aligns most deeply with your essence. As you immerse yourself in Raja Yoga, practice concentration through silent meditation, allowing the mantra, "I am silence," to dissolve mental chatter. Supplement this with acts of selfless service, or delve into texts like the Ashtavakra Gita for deeper insight into non-dual awareness. Even if devotion isn't your strength, embrace the spirit of surrender, acknowledging a power greater than the ego consciousness. Such integration fosters inner power and liberation, breaking the chains of identification with the false I and establishing the mind in stillness. The four yogas teach that liberation is not a singular path, but a convergence of efforts aimed at dissolving ignorance. It's about realizing that spiritual energy is not something acquired, but something unveiled when the noise of the mind is silenced. The secret lies not just in practice, but in the mindset, seeing effort not as a burden, but as a joyful discipline that awakens the inner self. It's the paradox of striving without attachment, effort without ego, that opens the door to effortless awareness. When the yogi transcends the need for recognition and validation, the journey itself becomes liberation. And as the mind surrenders to silence, a profound realization emerges. The essence of being lies not in effort, but in the simple awareness of I am. In the vast tapestry of spiritual traditions, the four yogas stand as timeless pillars guiding seekers towards self-realization. These ancient practices, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga, offer distinct paths, each designed to align the soul with its highest truth. Raja Yoga, the royal path, centers on mastering the mind through meditation and concentration, building an unshakable inner silence. It's not just a practice, it's a complete way of being. Imagine your mind as a restless river, with Raja Yoga teaching you to calm its currents, transforming chaos into stillness. Unlike other paths that engage emotion or intellect, Raja Yoga directly tackles the root of suffering, the turbulent mind. Those who delve into it often find themselves shedding layers of ego consciousness, revealing the pure awareness beneath. The journey is rigorous, demanding unwavering commitment, yet the rewards are profound: self-mastery, liberation, and a glimpse into the infinite. While Raja Yoga forms the heart of disciplined practice, the other yogas complement and balance the soul's journey. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, embraces the soul's yearning for divine connection, transforming love into a force of transcendence. Jnana Yoga, rooted in wisdom and discernment, slices through ignorance with the sword of self-inquiry. It challenges preconceived notions, urging practitioners to look beyond the illusion of the ego and witness the true I, the pure awareness that lies beyond thought. Karma Yoga, meanwhile, purifies through selfless action, dissolving the spiritual ego that clings to recognition and validation. These paths are not mutually exclusive but are intertwined, forming a harmonious system that embraces the totality of human experience. Each individual, guided by their inner calling, can explore one or merge several, crafting a practice that resonates with their soul's unique vibration. Many sages and pundits throughout history have emphasized that integrating these four yogas fosters a balanced and complete spiritual practice. It's not enough to immerse oneself in meditation without understanding the subtle traps of the spiritual ego, nor to devote oneself to selfless service without cultivating inner silence. Ramana Maharshi, revered as a master of self-inquiry, recognized the necessity of blending paths to achieve liberation. His teachings remind us that pure awareness arises when effort, devotion, knowledge, and selfless action converge harmoniously. This fusion transcends the false I, the illusory identity shaped by thoughts and social conditioning, unveiling the true I, which remains untouched by the sleight of hand performed by the mind. Just as a skilled musician blends notes into harmony, the yogi must blend practices to resonate with the truth. In practical terms, the journey through the 4 yogas requires commitment and intention. Start by observing your natural inclinations. Do you gravitate toward contemplation, devotion, knowledge, or action? Let your soul guide you toward the practice that aligns most deeply with your essence. As you immerse yourself in Raja Yoga, practice concentration through silent meditation, allowing the mantra, "I am silence," to dissolve mental chatter. Supplement this with acts of selfless service or delve into texts like the Ashtavakra Gita for deeper insight into non-dual awareness. Even if devotion isn't your strength, embrace the spirit of surrender, acknowledging a power greater than the ego consciousness. Such integration fosters inner power and liberation, breaking the chains of identification with the false I and establishing the mind in stillness. The 4 yogas teach that liberation is not a singular path, but a convergence of efforts aimed at dissolving ignorance. It's about realizing that spiritual energy is not something acquired, but something unveiled when the noise of the mind is silenced. The secret lies not just in practice, but in the mindset, seeing effort not as a burden, but as a joyful discipline that awakens the inner self. It's the paradox of striving without attachment, effort without ego, that opens the door to effortless awareness. When the yogi transcends the need for recognition and validation, the journey itself becomes liberation. And as the mind surrenders to silence, a profound realization emerges. The essence of being lies not in effort, but in the simple awareness of I am. Raja Yoga, mastering the mind through silence. Raja Yoga, often referred to as the royal path, stands as the pinnacle of yogic discipline, guiding practitioners toward mastery over the mind. It's a journey marked by intense focus, unwavering dedication, and the cultivation of inner silence. At its core, Raja Yoga revolves around the practice of meditation and concentration, aiming to dissolve the chaos of mental turbulence. Through practices like dharana, concentration, and dhyana meditation, the mind becomes as still as a tranquil lake, reflecting the pure awareness of the self. This path challenges the very fabric of ego consciousness, pushing the practitioner to confront the restless nature of thought itself. The goal is to dissolve the false I, the constructed identity that clings to fleeting impressions, revealing the true I, the essence that transcends perception. Silence is not merely the absence of sound in Raja Yoga. It is the profound stillness that permeates consciousness when the mind ceases its endless chatter. This inner silence is both the practice and the result, an ongoing state of being that emerges through disciplined meditation. It's a state where effort and effortlessness coexist, where concentration transforms into pure awareness. Ramana Maharshi often emphasized the transformative power of silence, considering it the ultimate teaching. To him, true wisdom was not something to be spoken, but something to be realized within. As the mind settles into silence, the practitioner experiences glimpses of samadhi, a profound absorption where the false I dissolves completely. In this state, spiritual energy flows unhindered, and the yogi tastes the essence of liberation. Yet, the path is not without its challenges. The ego resists dissolution, clinging to its familiar identity and conjuring distractions to maintain control. This resistance is the mind's sleight of hand, convincing the practitioner that silence is unattainable. The key lies in persistence, allowing thoughts to arise without attachment and gently guiding attention back to the mantra, I am silence. This simple yet potent practice anchors the mind, preventing it from wandering into habitual patterns. Raja Yoga teaches that the struggle with the ego is not about force, but about consistent redirection, like a gentle shepherd guiding a wayward flock. It's the willingness to sit through the discomfort that allows the breakthrough, a moment when silence becomes the natural state. Many spiritual traditions echo the essence of Raja Yoga, from Christian mystics who embraced contemplative silence to sages like Tatwariyar and Swarupananda, whose very presence exuded peace. The practice itself is universal, transcending cultural and doctrinal boundaries, because silence is inherent to human nature. In practical application, start by dedicating a few minutes daily to sit quietly, focusing solely on your breath or the mantra. Gradually increase this time as you become more comfortable with stillness. You might find resistance at first, but persistence will unveil a tranquility that words cannot capture. It's about trusting the process, knowing that beneath the noise lies a wellspring of serenity waiting to be discovered. The paradox of Raja Yoga is that effort itself dissolves into effortlessness. As concentration becomes natural, silence arises without strain, and the seeker merges with the essence of pure awareness. This is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of living from a place of unwavering stillness. Those who master Raja Yoga are not merely meditators, they are embodiments of tranquility, living testaments to the power of mastering the mind. The next step, however, is understanding how silence itself becomes the gateway to self-realization, revealing truths that no spoken word could convey. Silence and self-realization, the gateway to inner truth. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the profound stillness that allows the soul to glimpse its own essence. In the world of spiritual practice, silence holds a paradoxical power. It is both a tool and a destination, a practice and a realization. Those who master the art of silence find themselves face to face with the unspoken truth of existence. When the noise of the mind subsides, the clarity of pure awareness emerges, revealing the presence of the true I beyond the false I that clings to identity and illusion. Silence is not something to be achieved but uncovered, for it resides eternally within, masked by the relentless chatter of thoughts and the grasping of the ego consciousness. To practice silence is to peel back the layers of distraction and rest in the natural state of being. Self-realization flourishes in the fertile ground of silence. It's not about intellectual understanding or philosophical speculation, but about the direct experience of pure awareness. The mind, so often caught in endless loops of reasoning and analysis, struggles to comprehend this simplicity. Yet silence requires no explanation, it simply is. Ramana Maharshi taught that silence itself is the highest form of instruction, for it bypasses the limitations of language and directly communicates the essence of truth. The journey into inner silence demands the dissolution of the spiritual ego, which masquerades as wisdom but feeds on self-importance. True silence humbles the soul, stripping away the need to be perceived as enlightened or knowledgeable. It is in this surrender that realization dawns, unobstructed by the demands of the false self. Practicing silence does not mean isolating oneself from the world, but rather cultivating an inner stillness amidst the noise of daily life. Start with short periods of silent meditation, just sitting with the breath, allowing thoughts to come and go without attachment. Gradually, this practice becomes second nature, and silence seeps into ordinary moments, waiting in line, walking, even in conversation. It's not about suppressing thoughts, but about witnessing them without being entangled. The mantra, I am silence, serves as a powerful anchor, reminding the practitioner that silence is not something to reach, but something to remember. In this space, even the most tumultuous emotions lose their grip, for silence reveals their transient nature. Silence also teaches discrimination between the false I and the true I. The ego thrives on sound, movement, and validation, constantly seeking to affirm its own importance. In contrast, the true self remains unaffected, rooted in the timeless awareness that observes without judgment. As silence deepens, the mind's sleight of hand becomes apparent, the way it fabricates stories and identities to maintain control. Recognizing this illusion is the first step toward liberation. It is the practice of inner silence that unveils the subtle distinction between what is transient and what is eternal. Once the false I is recognized, it loses its power, and the practitioner rests in the effortless awareness of the true I. The more one practices silence, the more profound the transformation becomes. Life no longer feels like a series of reactions, but rather a continuous flow of peaceful presence. The inner power that arises from this state is not dominance over others, but mastery over oneself. It's the kind of peace that Christian mystics and ancient sages cherished, an unshakable state that no external circumstance can disturb. As silence becomes habitual, the seeker moves closer to the essence of self-realization. And yet, silence is not the final destination. It's the doorway that opens to deeper insights and the subtle wisdom that transcends the mind's grasp. The next step is to understand how the spiritual ego can disguise itself as enlightenment, leading even the most diligent seeker astray. Spiritual ego and self-inquiry, unmasking the illusion. One of the most insidious obstacles on the path to self-realization is the emergence of the spiritual ego. Unlike the ordinary ego, which thrives on social validation and material achievements, the spiritual ego cloaks itself in wisdom and enlightenment. It whispers that you've reached a higher state, that your insights set you apart from others. Yet this subtle arrogance traps seekers in a new illusion, believing they are beyond illusion. The spiritual ego can be more dangerous than the mundane one because it hides under the guise of virtue, making it harder to detect. Practicing self-inquiry becomes crucial at this stage, as it allows the practitioner to question the very root of this identity. The false I becomes more cunning, convincing the mind that it has transcended ego while secretly clinging to the identity of being enlightened. Self-inquiry is a method of peeling back these layers of deception. It is not about asking questions to find intellectual answers, but about relentlessly tracing the source of each thought back to its origin. Ramana Maharshi emphasized the question, "Who am I?" as the ultimate tool for cutting through the spiritual ego. Instead of being satisfied with superficial insights, one must dive deeper, questioning who is claiming this wisdom or superiority. As long as the sense of I is tied to any concept, no matter how elevated, it remains rooted in ego consciousness. The mind is clever, performing a sleight of hand that makes pride appear as humility and arrogance as detachment. True self-inquiry dismantles this illusion, allowing pure awareness to emerge unhindered by pretense. One practical way to engage in self-inquiry is through daily reflection on moments when pride or a sense of superiority arises. Ask yourself, who is feeling this pride? Who is claiming to be more advanced? Sit with the discomfort without justifying or rationalizing it. Let the questions dissolve into silence rather than forcing answers. Over time, this practice weakens the false I's grip, and the sense of self becomes less rigid, more fluid. You begin to see that spiritual realization is not something to be owned or displayed, but rather a continuous unfolding that requires deep humility. It's not about how many mantras you've mastered or how much knowledge you've accumulated, but about the willingness to confront the truth of your own motivations. The deeper the inquiry, the more layers of ego consciousness are exposed. It becomes evident that the mind, in its cunning, has been trying to take credit for spiritual progress, subtly reinforcing the false I. To truly dismantle this, one must persistently question even the desire to be recognized as wise or enlightened. It's essential to remain vigilant, for the spiritual ego will attempt to disguise itself in increasingly subtle ways. Those who practice this relentless self-inquiry gradually become empty of false identities, resting in the awareness that has no need for recognition or validation. It's a quiet, unassuming state, one that neither boasts of achievements nor laments failures. As the spiritual ego dissolves, a profound liberation takes place, a release from the burden of being seen as wise or accomplished. The seeker becomes less concerned with how they appear to others and more attuned to the silent, unwavering presence within. This is the essence of true humility, recognizing that even the highest insights are not yours, but simply glimpses of universal truth. The mind becomes a servant rather than a master, bowing to the silent awareness that remains ever present. Yet, even in this state, vigilance is necessary, for the mind's desire to reclaim control never fully vanishes. Next, we will explore how Ramana Maharshi's teachings illuminate the path of self-inquiry and silence, offering invaluable insights into the nature of the true I. Teachings of Ramana Maharshi, the master of silence and self-inquiry. Ramana Maharshi is often revered as the epitome of silence and the living embodiment of self-inquiry. His teachings transcend intellectual discourse, guiding seekers to the direct experience of pure awareness. To him, silence was not merely the absence of speech, but the profound stillness where the mind's noise dissolves, leaving only the essence of being. Ramana did not advocate for complex rituals or dogmatic practices. Instead, he encouraged seekers to immerse themselves in the question, "Who am I?" This inquiry dismantles the false I, peeling away layers of identity shaped by thoughts and emotions. For Ramana, realizing the self was not about acquiring new knowledge, but shedding the illusion that one is anything other than the silent awareness itself. One of Ramana's most powerful insights is the understanding that self-realization does not require creating something new, but remembering the self that has always been present. He emphasized that the true I is not a construct of the mind, but the pure witness that remains unchanged amidst thoughts and feelings. To experience this truth, he urged practitioners to cease their relentless search for external validation and turn inward. Silence, he taught, is both the means and the end, an effortless awareness where even the concept of effort vanishes. The paradox here is that while effort is necessary to establish concentration and practice, the ultimate realization comes when effort itself dissolves. In this effortless state, spiritual energy flows unobstructed, untouched by the ego consciousness. Ramana's approach to self-inquiry is refreshingly simple, yet profoundly transformative. He did not see spiritual practice as a means of achieving something external, but as a return to one's innate state of being. To those struggling with the demands of meditation or concentration, he advised to simply persist without attachment to results. The mantra, "I am silence," becomes not just a practice but a realization, a constant reminder that the essence of self is inherently quiet, even amidst life's chaos. Ramana's unwavering commitment to silence demonstrated that inner peace is not dependent on circumstances, but on the absence of identification with the transient ego. His presence alone was said to emanate a tranquility that could dissolve the restless mind of those around him. A remarkable example of his influence is seen in the lives of his disciples, who found liberation not through philosophical debates, but by sitting quietly in his presence. One story tells of a seeker who, after years of restless searching, simply sat at Ramana's feet and felt his mind unravel into silence. It was not a teaching delivered through words, but through the profound stillness that radiated from the Master. This exemplifies that true guidance does not always come through instruction, but through direct experience. Ramana's ability to convey silence without uttering a word demonstrates that the highest wisdom is beyond speech, rooted in the essence of being itself. Ramana Maharshi's legacy continues to inspire countless seekers, reminding them that true liberation lies not in concepts, but in the direct recognition of the self. To truly embrace his teachings, one must be willing to confront the spiritual ego that seeks recognition even in enlightenment. Silence is not something to be achieved, but something to be remembered, a return to the state where thoughts lose their grip and the true I remains unshaken. As we move forward, let us explore how the silent power of a guru's presence can transcend even the most elaborate teachings, as seen in the story of Tatwariyar and Swarupananda. Story of Tatwariyar and Swarupananda, the silent power of a guru. There is a story that beautifully illustrates the silent power of a guru, revealing how presence alone can ignite transformation. Tatwariyar and Swarupananda were two revered sages, known for their profound wisdom and unshakable tranquility. One day, a disciple approached Swarupananda with a burning question about the nature of self-realization. He had read countless scriptures and practiced numerous techniques, yet felt no closer to liberation. Swarupananda, instead of offering words, simply looked at him in silence. The disciple's mind churned with impatience, desperate for guidance, but the guru remained unmoved, immersed in a stillness so profound it seemed to swallow the world. The disciple, frustrated, finally demanded an answer. Tatwariyar, observing from nearby, approached and spoke gently. "Do you not see? Silence is the answer. Your mind craves explanations, yet it is the very craving that obstructs your realization." At that moment, something shifted within the disciple. The restless thoughts that had plagued him softened, and he found himself settling into the same silence that enveloped the gurus. It wasn't that the silence itself conveyed knowledge, but that it dissolved the mind's compulsion to grasp at understanding. The seeker finally recognized that liberation was not something to attain, but a state to unveil by quieting the mental noise. This story captures a profound truth. Wisdom does not always come through intellectual discourse, but through the direct transmission of presence. Both Tatwariyar and Swarupananda embodied the essence of the silent guru, demonstrating that the highest teachings often arrive without a single word. Their silence was not empty, it was potent, vibrating with the clarity of pure awareness. This principle aligns with the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, who often said that silence is the most powerful teaching because it transcends the limitations of language. It's not about understanding with the mind, but resonating with the silence that lies beyond thought. For seekers today, this story serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs occur not through relentless questioning, but through surrendering to silence. Next time you find yourself wrestling with spiritual concepts or struggling to understand the self, try sitting in silence instead. Let the thoughts rise and fall without attachment, and allow the silence to reveal its own wisdom. You may find that what you sought to grasp was never something to hold, but to experience. Practice sitting in silence without expectation, simply being present with whatever arises. This practice trains the mind to rest without fixation, making room for the silent understanding that transcends words. The power of a guru's presence lies not in their knowledge, but in their ability to still the mind of the seeker. Tatwariyar and Swarupananda understood that teaching through silence is the most direct path to the essence of being. The disciple, through their example, learned that inner power is not forged through forceful practice, but through effortless awareness. The paradox here is that even effort itself becomes an illusion when one realizes that the true self is already free. In this realization, the seeker becomes the witness, the pure awareness that silently observes the dance of the mind without being entangled. The next question, then, is how to navigate the intricate dynamics of ego and mind without losing sight of the ultimate truth. The ego and the mind, unraveling the illusion. The ego and the mind are intertwined forces that shape our perception of reality, creating a web of illusions that bind us to suffering. The ego, driven by the need for identity and validation, clings to every thought and emotion as if they were integral to our existence. It forms narratives, assumptions, and judgments that reinforce its presence, convincing us that we are our thoughts. Yet, the mind itself is not inherently problematic. It becomes a tool of bondage only when dominated by the ego consciousness. The challenge lies in distinguishing between the mind as an instrument of awareness and the ego as a distorted sense of self. To unravel this illusion, one must practice the art of witnessing, becoming the observer rather than the participant in mental drama. Witnessing is a practice rooted in pure awareness, where the mind's movements are observed without judgment or identification. It's like watching a storm through a window rather than standing in the rain. When thoughts arise, the witness remains untouched, simply noticing without grasping. This practice reveals that thoughts do not define the true I. They are fleeting phenomena, passing through the canvas of consciousness. The mind's sleight of hand lies in convincing us that each thought carries profound significance, yet most are repetitive echoes shaped by past experiences and conditioning. By practicing witnessing, one learns to separate the essential self from the noise, unveiling the vast stillness beneath mental turbulence. An effective way to cultivate witnessing is through meditation practice, where concentration becomes an anchor amid mental chaos. Sit quietly and repeat the mantra, "I am silence," allowing it to permeate your awareness. As thoughts arise, do not resist them. Simply notice them and return to the mantra. Over time, the mind learns to settle, and the distance between the awareness and the thought process becomes apparent. This subtle separation weakens the ego's grip, as the false I loses credibility. Realizing that the mind's constant activity is not a reflection of the true self marks a pivotal shift, one that opens the door to liberation from mental identification. It's important to recognize that the ego is not inherently evil or malicious. It's merely a construct that emerges from the need to survive and adapt. However, when left unchecked, it overshadows the authentic self, trapping awareness in a cycle of reaction and attachment. Discrimination is key, knowing when the ego is asserting dominance and when the mind is serving its rightful purpose as a tool of discernment. Ashtavakra Gita speaks of the false I as a shadow, something that seems real until the light of awareness dissolves it. In practical terms, when you feel overwhelmed by emotions or thoughts, pause and ask, who is experiencing this? Who is witnessing the turmoil? This simple inquiry often diffuses the intensity and shifts perspective from entanglement to observation. Mastering the art of witnessing transforms the relationship between the ego and the mind. Instead of being enslaved by incessant thoughts and emotions, one learns to navigate life from a place of quiet clarity. The ego's power diminishes when it is consistently exposed as a phantom, an illusion born from identification. The mind, now free from the weight of ego consciousness, functions more efficiently, reflecting pure awareness without distortion. This profound shift not only fosters inner peace, but also cultivates a deeper understanding of how to wield mental energy wisely. Yet, to truly solidify this practice, one must delve deeper into meditation itself, embracing the mantra as both a practice and a living truth. Meditation practice, anchoring the mind in silence. Meditation is not just a practice, it is the art of returning to one's natural state of being. In a world bombarded with distractions, the ability to sit in silence has become both rare and revolutionary. Meditation anchors the mind, transforming restless thoughts into a calm, clear awareness that reflects the true self. The key to effective meditation lies not in force or rigid control, but in gentle concentration. Raja Yoga teaches that meditation is the doorway to pure awareness, where the false I dissolves and the true I emerges without effort. The mantra, "I am silence," becomes a powerful tool in this practice, guiding the mind to surrender its frantic pursuit of validation and settle into the peaceful presence of being. To begin a meditation practice, find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably, free from interruptions. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath, feeling the rise and fall of each inhalation and exhalation. As thoughts arise, do not resist them. Instead, observe them like clouds drifting through the sky. Repeat the mantra, "I am silence," in your mind, allowing its resonance to permeate your awareness. The goal is not to empty the mind, but to disengage from the need to chase thoughts. As the mantra sinks deeper, a natural stillness envelopes your consciousness, and the mind surrenders to the quietude. This practice, when done consistently, cultivates a profound inner silence that transcends daily turmoil. One of the most common obstacles in meditation is the mind's tendency to wander. This is not a failure, but an opportunity to practice bringing attention back without frustration. Every time you notice your focus slipping, gently return to the mantra. Over time, the gaps between distractions lengthen, and the mind becomes more inclined to remain anchored in silence. It is essential to approach this process with patience and kindness. Forcing concentration only intensifies mental resistance. Instead, embrace each moment as part of the journey, knowing that even distraction has its purpose. By practicing regularly, the mind becomes accustomed to silence, and the mantra naturally arises even amidst activity. Advanced practitioners often experience states of samadhi, where the mind becomes fully absorbed in pure awareness. These moments are not achieved through effort, but through the surrender of effort itself. The paradox of meditation lies in striving to be effortless, holding intention without gripping it tightly. Christian mystics and sages from various traditions have described similar states, where silence overtakes the mind and spiritual energy flows without obstruction. The secret is not in striving to maintain silence, but in allowing silence to arise naturally, unobstructed by the ego's need to control the experience. This spontaneous absorption into silence becomes a profound revelation, the true I, untouched by mental turbulence, shining in its own light. The transformative power of meditation extends beyond the practice itself, influencing daily life with heightened clarity and tranquility. The mind becomes less reactive, and the spiritual ego loses its grip as the sense of being a doer fades. This practice nurtures a state of inner power that does not seek validation or recognition, but quietly exists in its own presence. Meditation, therefore, is not just a ritual but a way of living, an ongoing invitation to return to the essence of being, no matter the external circumstances. Yet, as silence becomes more familiar, The practitioner must also navigate the challenge of distinguishing the false I from the true I, ensuring that the awareness remains rooted in authenticity rather than spiritual pride. Discrimination between the false I and the true I, unveiling the illusion. The journey to self-realization hinges on a fundamental practice, discriminating between the false I and the true I. The false I is the illusion of identity constructed by thoughts, emotions, and memories. It clings to labels, achievements, and failures, constantly seeking validation from the world. This false self believes it is the doer, the thinker, and the sufferer. In contrast, the true I remains untouched by these fluctuations, existing as pure awareness that silently witnesses all experiences. The challenge lies in recognizing that the false I is not real, but merely a pattern formed by habitual thinking. It is a phantom, a sleight of hand performed by the mind to maintain its sense of control. To discern the difference between these two identities, one must cultivate the practice of self-inquiry. This means questioning the very sense of I whenever it arises. Who is feeling anxious? Who is claiming victory? Who is hurt by criticism? By tracing every thought and emotion back to its source, it becomes evident that the one who suffers and the one who observes are not the same. Ramana Maharshi emphasized that the true I is not the thinker but the witness, the presence that perceives without attachment. This shift in understanding liberates the practitioner from the tyranny of the ego consciousness, allowing life to unfold without the constant interference of identity. One practical way to exercise discrimination is by catching the mind in the act of identifying with a role or label. When you say, I am angry or I am a failure, pause and investigate. Who is claiming this identity? Allow the question to dissolve the thought instead of demanding an intellectual answer. The more you practice, the clearer it becomes that the ego is merely a construct, an ephemeral association rather than a fundamental truth. This realization transforms your relationship with thoughts and emotions, allowing them to pass through without clinging or resistance. It's not about suppressing or denying feelings, but seeing them as transient waves on the ocean of awareness. The teachings of ancient sages and Christian mystics often highlight this distinction between the false and true self. Rumi poetically captured it when he spoke of losing oneself to find oneself, emphasizing the necessity of dissolving the ego to awaken to the divine essence within. Similarly, the Ashtavakra Gita offers wisdom on shedding the illusion of individuality, guiding seekers to recognize the eternal witness that transcends all worldly concerns. By immersing oneself in these teachings, one gains not just theoretical knowledge, but practical insights to apply in everyday life. It becomes a habit to ask, who am I in this moment? Not as a quest for answers, but as a means to return to the awareness that is ever present. As the false I is gradually unmasked, a sense of liberation dawns. The ego's need for recognition and validation fades, replaced by an effortless awareness that simply is. This state of being does not negate emotions or thoughts, but observes them without entanglement. The mind, no longer dominated by the ego's compulsions, becomes a tool rather than a tyrant. This profound shift reshapes how one interacts with the world, fostering a quiet power that doesn't need to assert itself. The next step is understanding the paradox of effort in spiritual practice, where striving and surrender must coexist without contradiction. The role of effort in spiritual practice, striving without striving. Effort in spiritual practice is a paradox that confounds many seekers. On one hand, discipline and commitment are essential to cultivating silence and self-realization. On the other, true awareness arises only when effort dissolves into effortless being. This tension between striving and surrender creates a unique dynamic where the ego, eager to take credit for progress, often sabotages the very tranquility it seeks. The secret lies in understanding that effort is not about force, but about consistent, gentle intention. It's like planting a seed and nurturing it without obsessing over its growth. The moment effort becomes rigid, the mind falls back into grasping, and the spiritual ego reasserts itself. The challenge is to practice with dedication while simultaneously letting go of the desire for results. Raja Yoga exemplifies this approach, emphasizing concentration without attachment. The practice of meditation, where the mantra, "I am silence," anchors awareness, requires both effort and surrender. Initially, the mind resists, conjuring distractions and doubts. Yet, as persistence gently tames the restless thoughts, effort transitions into a natural state of being. This is not passive resignation, but an active participation in the unfolding of awareness. The effort to sit in silence transforms into an effortless presence when the false I ceases to assert its dominance. It's a subtle shift from doing to being, where the practice becomes as natural as breathing. Many spiritual traditions emphasize this balance between effort and surrender. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that one must act without attachment to the fruits of action. This principle applies equally to spiritual practice. When effort becomes an end in itself, it tightens the grip of ego consciousness. To practice without expecting enlightenment is the ultimate liberation from the false I's schemes. It's about trusting that the essence of self is already present, unbound by the noise of effortful striving. Even Christian mystics recognize that surrender to divine will mean allowing grace to act through them rather than forcing spiritual progress. This harmonious balance cultivates a serene dedication that withstands challenges without falling into obsession. A practical way to embody this paradox is to set aside specific times for practice without rigidly enforcing outcomes. Sit in silence with the intention of being present rather than achieving a particular state. Notice when effort becomes strain and consciously relax into the experience. If the mind wanders, guide it back gently without reprimand. This compassionate approach builds resilience without reinforcing the ego's need to control. Books like the Ashtavakra Gita or teachings from sages like Ramana Maharshi often highlight the importance of effortlessness in self-realization. By integrating these teachings into daily life, practice becomes a fluid dance between intention and release. Ultimately, the paradox of effort is resolved in the realization that striving itself is an illusion, a mental construct born from the belief that the self is separate from awareness. When effort dissolves into effortless presence, the true I naturally reveals itself. This is the essence of liberation, not the result of strenuous practice, but the awakening to what has always been present. The journey is not about becoming something greater, but remembering what already exists within. As this awareness matures, the practice itself becomes less about doing and more about being, a state of quiet receptivity where the inner power naturally unfolds. Next, we will explore how the mantra, "I am silence," serves as a powerful catalyst for inner transformation, guiding the mind beyond effort into pure awareness. Mantra and inner transformation, the power of I am silence. Mantras hold a unique place in spiritual practice, acting as bridges between the restless mind and the tranquil self. Among them, the mantra, I am silence, carries a profound resonance, guiding practitioners beyond thought into pure awareness. It's not just a phrase, but a declaration of being, reminding the soul of its inherent stillness. When repeated consistently, it becomes more than mere words. It transforms into a living truth. The mind, accustomed to clinging to noise and distraction, gradually surrenders to the depth of the mantra, dissolving the false I. This simple yet potent practice bypasses the intellect, anchoring awareness directly in the present moment. Through repetition, the mantra penetrates deeper layers of consciousness, planting seeds of inner silence that blossom into effortless presence. In meditation, the mantra serves as both an anchor and a compass, guiding the practitioner back to the core of being whenever thoughts arise. As the mantra, I am silence, reverberates within, it acts like a tuning fork, harmonizing the dissonance of the mind with the frequency of stillness. It's not about suppressing thoughts, but gently allowing them to fade into the background, overshadowed by the mantra's quiet power. The mind learns to rest in this resonance, abandoning its habitual grasping and settling into pure awareness. This practice is not limited to formal meditation. It can be invoked at any moment, waiting in line, walking, or even during mundane tasks. The key is consistency, letting the mantra become a background hum that subtly shapes your consciousness. Transformation through the mantra occurs not by force, but by gentle persistence. The ego, threatened by the mantra's simplicity, may attempt to dismiss it as too basic or ineffective. Yet, with dedication, the power of I am silence reveals itself as a profound tool for liberation. The mantra dismantles the spiritual ego, which often craves complex techniques and grand gestures. By anchoring in this simple truth, the practitioner gradually experiences a shift from effortful striving to effortless being. Spiritual energy flows unhindered, and the ego consciousness weakens as the true I emerges from the shadows. This transformation is subtle at first, but over time, it permeates daily life with a quiet confidence rooted in pure awareness. The mantra's impact is not confined to individual practice. It radiates into interactions and choices, shaping how one navigates the world. A person grounded in the silence of the true I becomes less reactive, more observant, and increasingly attuned to the essence of life itself. This transformation transcends theoretical understanding and becomes a lived reality, an embodiment of peace that requires no validation. Ramana Maharshi often highlighted that the power of silence lies in its ability to disarm the mind without conflict. In this way, the mantra, I am silence, becomes a shield against distraction and a beacon that illuminates the path to self-realization. The true power of the mantra is in its simplicity, a direct assertion that bypasses intellectual debate and touches the core of existence. It's not about proving enlightenment, but living it through unwavering presence. As the mantra becomes integrated into the practitioner's life, it naturally erodes the barriers created by the false I, allowing pure awareness to shine unobstructed. The journey from effort to effortlessness finds its culmination in this quiet repetition, proving that transformation is not always loud or dramatic. It's the soft, steady hum of truth that reverberates through the soul. Karma Yoga and Non-Doership. Karma Yoga is not just about performing actions, it's about flowing with life without the illusion of control. Imagine yourself as a wave in the vast ocean, rising and falling naturally, without claiming ownership of the movement. This is the essence of non-doership, allowing life to act through you without the interference of ego or personal will. The teachings of Lord Buddha and Ramana Maharshi emphasize that true action arises without attachment to the outcome, guided by the divine script of existence. When you grasp this, you realize that life is living you. You're not the independent actor you once believed. This shift transforms how you engage with the world, freeing you from the weight of responsibility and the craving for results. In Karma Yoga, the focus shifts from achieving goals to embracing the flow of action itself. It's not about forcing success or battling failure, but but rather moving with the rhythm of the universe. Picture an artist completely immersed in their craft, lost in the creative process. That's the essence of action flow. It's not the mind pushing for perfection, but the soul expressing itself naturally. When we embrace non-doership, we transcend the ego-driven desire to control every outcome, and instead, we become instruments of divine power. This is how action becomes effortless and harmonious, leading to a state of bliss where pride and guilt lose their grip on us. Understanding karma yoga means recognizing that desires and fears often shape how we act, tying us to the circle of karma. By seeing ourselves as mere conduits of life's action, we break free from this cycle and experience a sense of liberation. Imagine how freeing it would be to act without the nagging fear of judgment or the crushing need for validation. When you practice non-doership, life's challenges no longer feel like personal attacks. They are simply waves in the ocean of experience. You stop taking credit or blame and start moving through life with a sense of inner peace and detachment. A practical way to integrate karma yoga into your daily life is through guided meditation. Set aside a few minutes each day to close your eyes and repeat the mantra, "I am being lived." Let this truth sink in as you breathe and observe the natural flow of your thoughts and sensations. You'll start to notice how life unfolds on its own, without your constant interference. By doing this regularly, you rewire your mindset to let go of personal doership, gradually aligning yourself with the natural flow of existence. The more you practice, the more you feel the burden of responsibility melt away. This approach doesn't mean giving up ambition or action. It means engaging with life from a place of surrender rather than force. You'll still pursue your goals, but without the tension of needing to be the master of every outcome. Imagine working on a project not from a place of stress, but from pure inspiration, allowing creativity to move through you. This is the art of living with grace, taking action while staying detached from the results. As you embrace this mindset, you'll find yourself more aligned with your divine destiny, acting not as an individual force, but as part of a grander, unified movement. The ego and personal doership. The ego is a cunning illusion that convinces us we are the architects of our actions. It's that persistent voice in your head telling you that you are the one achieving success, making mistakes, and owning every decision. But this sense of personal doership is the root of suffering. The belief that you are solely responsible for the outcomes of your actions traps you in a cycle of pride and guilt. Pride emerges when things go right, while guilt crushes you when they go wrong. The truth is, the ego feeds off this illusion of control, binding you to a never-ending loop of desire and fear. To truly break free, it's essential to see the ego for what it is, just a construct, not your essence. Imagine how liberating it would be to view your actions not as personal achievements or failures, but as expressions of the universe flowing through you. This mindset doesn't make you passive or indifferent. Instead, it aligns you with the natural course of life. Think of a musician lost in the melody, not forcing the notes but allowing them to emerge. That's what non-doership feels like, a seamless integration with the flow of action. The ego despises this idea because it loses its sense of power. Yet, the more you resist claiming ownership, the lighter your spirit becomes, and the more harmonious your actions feel. The sense of personal doership leads to a distorted perception of reality, where your worth is tied to outcomes. Whether it's getting a promotion or facing a breakup, the ego makes it personal. But what if life is simply acting through you, using your form as a vessel? This realization doesn't absolve you of accountability, but it redefines it. You begin to see yourself as a wave in the ocean, inseparable from the whole, moving as life intends. This shift shatters the illusion of being a lone warrior fighting against the current. You're not an isolated actor, but an extension of divine power. Breaking the cycle of personal doership requires deliberate practice. Start by noticing when pride or guilt arises. Instead of identifying with these emotions, observe them as passing waves. Set reminders throughout your day with the mantra, "I am being lived." Use it as a cue to step back from your habitual reactions. Whenever you catch yourself claiming credit or blame, pause and reflect. Is this truly mine, or is it just life unfolding through me? Over time, this practice dissolves the ego's grip, revealing a deeper sense of peace and clarity. As you loosen the hold of personal doership, life's challenges become less daunting. You stop blaming yourself for failures or excessively celebrating victories. Your sense of self shifts from a rigid identity to a fluid presence, grounded in the realization that life is guiding every step. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. Rather, your actions become more intuitive and less burdened by egoic expectations. You move from striving to flowing, from resistance to acceptance. It's a transformation that unites you with the essence of being, where even ambition becomes a gentle pursuit rather than a fierce battle. Karma and samsara. Karma is the invisible thread weaving through the tapestry of existence, guiding each soul through the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. It's not just about cause and effect, but a complex dance of intention and consequence that spans lifetimes. Every action, every thought, and every desire leaves an imprint on your karmic path. Imagine a farmer planting seeds without knowing when they will sprout or how the harvest will turn out. Some seeds grow immediately, while others lie dormant for years. Karma works in much the same way, manifesting outcomes when conditions are ripe, regardless of how much time has passed. It's an intricate web where every movement reverberates across lifetimes. The belief that karma is punishment or reward is a misconception rooted in the ego's need to control outcomes. In truth, karma is neutral. It's life's natural response to action, flowing like a river shaped by the contours of your choices and intentions. Samsara, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth, emerges when the ego clings to desires and fears, binding the soul to the wheel of existence. The idea that your soul is an independent entity trapped in this cycle is just another illusion. In reality, you are both the wave and the ocean, constantly transforming, but never truly separate from the whole. Realizing this dissolves the fear of reincarnation and liberates your spirit from the burden of personal responsibility. Understanding karma means accepting that your current circumstances are not random, but the outcome of countless past actions. It's not about blame or shame. It's about acknowledging the forces that shaped your journey without identifying personally with them. When life throws you into chaos, instead of asking, "Why me?" consider the possibility that this moment is a ripple from a long-forgotten choice. Let go of the need to trace every cause and instead focus on responding with wisdom and grace. By doing so, you step out of the cycle of reaction and into a state of mindful action, allowing karma to unfold without resistance. To truly break free from samsara, one must transcend the ego's desire to control and manipulate life's script. Engage in practices that foster detachment from personal outcomes, like guided meditations focused on non-doership or the repetition of mantras like, "I am being lived." These practices gently untie the knots of karmic attachment, allowing you to act without claiming ownership of your deeds. Consider studying texts like the Book of Proverbs or teachings from Ramana Maharshi to deepen your understanding of surrender and divine destiny. The goal is not to erase karma, but to move through it without creating new karmic imprints born from pride or guilt. The true liberation from samsara comes not from fighting against karma, but from recognizing that your essence is untouched by it. You are the dreamer, not the dream, the force behind the manifestation, not the individual wave crashing on the shore. Embrace your role as part of the grand movement of life, without succumbing to the illusion of personal doership. When you see life living itself through you, the circle of karma loses its grip, and you enter a state of profound peace and equanimity. This realization doesn't stop action, but transforms it into an expression of unity with the universe itself. Conditioning and circumstances. Conditioning is the invisible architect of our actions, shaping how we respond to life's challenges without us even realizing it. From childhood, we're molded by family beliefs, societal expectations, and personal experiences, crafting a unique lens through which we perceive the world. Imagine a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble, each strike shaping a form dictated by both intention and the material itself. Similarly, our actions are shaped by conditioning and circumstances that intertwine like threads in a vast tapestry. The ego, however, steps in to claim ownership, insisting that our choices are purely our own. This illusion of personal doership blinds us to the fact that much of what we do is a conditioned response rather than a free, independent action. It's easy to feel trapped when you realize how deeply conditioning influences your decisions. You might wonder if there's any real freedom at all. The truth is that freedom lies not in rejecting your conditioning, but in recognizing it without attachment. You see, the ego feeds on the illusion of independence, but life itself unfolds through countless variables beyond our control. Picture someone who lashes out when criticized, not because they choose to, but because their past wounds and conditioning ignite an automatic reaction. When you understand this, you no longer blame yourself or others for actions shaped by forces beyond conscious control. Instead, you observe, accept, and let go. Circumstances act as the stage on which conditioning plays out, shaping how each moment unfolds. Think of life as a grand script, where your character moves and reacts based on past experiences and the context of each scene. You might feel proud of your achievements or guilty about your mistakes, but are they truly yours? Or are they the inevitable unfolding of a script written by the universe? This understanding doesn't make you a passive spectator. Rather, it empowers you to act with awareness. Instead of getting lost in guilt or pride, you start seeing your role as part of the greater whole, where every action is an expression of life's force. To break free from the grip of conditioning, practice observing your reactions without identifying with them. For instance, when anger arises, instead of saying, "I am angry," notice the feeling as anger is happening. This subtle shift transforms your relationship with emotions, allowing you to witness them without being consumed. Set reminders throughout your day to pause and reflect on how much of your actions stem from conditioning rather than conscious choice. Journaling about these realizations can also help untangle the complex web of habits and responses that govern your life. The key is to observe without judgment and to recognize the deeper flow guiding your actions. As you delve deeper into this awareness, you begin to see conditioning as neither good nor bad. It simply is. Life flows through your conditioned form like water through a riverbed shaped by centuries of erosion. You're not separate from your past or your surroundings, but that doesn't mean you're doomed to repeat old patterns. By seeing through the illusion of independent action, you transcend the limitations of conditioning. You start living from a place of acceptance and fluidity, allowing the universe to move through you without resistance. This perspective opens the door to a profound sense of liberation, where actions arise naturally, without the ego's grip on identity or control. The illusion of free will. Free will is one of humanity's most cherished beliefs. the idea that we are the architects of our own destiny, making choices independent of any external force. Yet, when you look deeper, this perception crumbles like a house of cards. The notion of being an independent actor is rooted in the ego's desire to control. We take pride in our accomplishments and blame ourselves for failures, as if we alone had the power to shape outcomes. But life is not a solo performance. It's a grand orchestration where every note is predetermined by a vast network of causes and conditions. Your sense of free will is merely the mind interpreting a script that was written long before you even became aware of it. Imagine watching a movie where the characters believe they're making choices, unaware that their fate is sealed by the script. In the same way, our sense of freedom is an illusion crafted by the ego. When you decide to go left instead of right, is it truly your choice? Or is it the result of countless influences, from genetic predispositions to social conditioning? The idea of independent action collapses when you realize that every decision is shaped by an intricate web of prior causes. The universe unfolds through you, like a wave shaped by the pull of the ocean. Your will is part of a vast movement, not a separate force of its own. Embracing the illusion of free will doesn't mean giving up on life or surrendering to fate. It means recognizing that actions happen through you rather than by you. This realization shifts your perspective from being a struggling individual to being a conduit of life itself. Instead of obsessing over the consequences of your choices, you start to observe them unfolding naturally, without the burden of control. This shift opens up a profound sense of peace because you no longer cling to the illusion that you must mastermind every outcome. You begin to witness your own actions as part of a greater flow rather than the product of personal effort. To internalize this understanding, practice mindfulness throughout your day. Notice how thoughts arise without your conscious intent and how actions follow in response to subtle impulses shaped by past experiences. Instead of labeling choices as right or wrong, observe them as part of the unfolding script of life. A practical way to reinforce this mindset is to set alarms reminding you to pause and reflect on how much of your day has flowed naturally versus how much you attempted to force. This practice will gradually dissolve the illusion of free will, allowing you to live with greater harmony and acceptance. The most powerful realization comes when you see that life is not demanding you to be in control. You are being lived by a force beyond your comprehension, moving through you effortlessly. The dreamer dreams, the wave rises and falls, and the action flows without the strain of personal doership. When you release the ego's grip on free will, you stop battling against life's currents and start riding the wave with grace. You become attuned to the flow state where bliss replaces resistance, and acceptance becomes your natural response. This awakening is not an end, but the beginning of living without conflict, where every moment is embraced as it is. Pride, guilt, and karmic attachments. Pride and guilt are two sides of the same karmic coin, both rooted in the illusion of personal doership. Pride swells when you feel solely responsible for your success, while guilt festers when you blame yourself for failures. These emotions are the footprints of karma, binding you to a cycle of attachment and suffering. They arise from the ego's desperate need to claim ownership over actions, fueling the illusion that you are the independent architect of your destiny. But if life itself is living through you, how can you truly take credit or blame? The attachment to pride and guilt keeps you stuck in samsara, constantly chasing validation or drowning in regret. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with every mistake and triumph you've ever experienced. The weight slows you down, and yet you cling to it, convinced that it defines who you are. Letting go of pride and guilt doesn't mean disregarding your actions or ignoring consequences. Instead, It means recognizing that both success and failure are part of a larger, universal script. You are the wave, not the ocean itself. Detaching from pride and guilt allows you to move with the current, free from the burden of personal responsibility. This liberation breaks the cycle of karmic attachments and opens the door to spiritual growth. Desires and fears are the invisible threads weaving karmic patterns that repeat over lifetimes. When you desire something intensely, the energy of that craving sets karma in motion, creating attachments that linger long after the desire fades. Similarly, fear compels you to make choices rooted in avoidance rather than acceptance. These patterns become habits that shape your reincarnations, locking you into the endless wheel of samsara. Realizing this doesn't mean suppressing desires or denying fears. Instead, it means seeing them as transient forces passing through you, not permanent aspects of your identity. A powerful way to dissolve pride and guilt is through the practice of forgiveness, both of yourself and others. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it releases the emotional charge that binds you to it. Imagine repeating the mantra, "I am being lived," while meditating on past experiences that haunt you. This practice helps you see those moments as part of life's unfolding, not as personal failures. The weight of guilt and pride dissolves when you realize that neither success nor error truly belongs to you. It's all part of the dreamer's script, manifesting through the vessel that is you. By loosening your grip on pride and guilt, you also break free from the illusion of personal success and failure. You start to see your accomplishments not as personal triumphs, but as manifestations of life's flow through you. This shift doesn't diminish your achievements or make you indifferent to your actions. Instead, it grounds you in a sense of humility and grace, knowing that life itself is the true force behind every outcome. When pride and guilt lose their power, you become more resilient, open to growth, and less fearful of change. You no longer measure your worth by the highs and lows, but by the steadiness of your presence within the unfolding story. Transcending Personal Doership. Transcending personal doership is one of the most challenging yet liberating aspects of spiritual practice. The ego clings to the idea that it is the doer, the mastermind behind every thought, action, and result. This sense of personal control is deeply embedded, forming the very core of identity. Yet, holding on to this illusion only leads to suffering, as pride and guilt emerge from the belief that you are solely responsible for your successes and failures. The secret lies not in fighting this belief, but in seeing through it, recognizing that life is acting through you rather than you acting independently. The wave does not claim credit for its rise or blame for its fall. It simply moves as the ocean wills. Imagine driving a car on a winding road, gripping the wheel tightly, convinced that every turn is entirely up to you. But in reality, countless factors influence your movement. The road's slope, the car's mechanics, the weather, and the conditions around you. Realizing that your actions are guided by forces beyond your control doesn't make you a passive passenger. It makes you a mindful driver, aware that the road itself shapes your journey. Transcending personal doership is like relaxing your grip and allowing the car to move naturally within the flow of traffic, instead of battling every curve with resistance. One of the most powerful practices to break free from the illusion of doership is self-inquiry. Ask yourself, who is the doer? Who claims responsibility for these actions? As you investigate, you'll find that the sense of I dissolves into the awareness that life is simply unfolding through you. This practice doesn't detach you from reality, but deepens your presence as you act without the weight of needing to prove yourself. By acknowledging that you are being lived rather than living on your own terms, you align with the effortless action flow that Karma Yoga teaches. Set reminders throughout your day to pause and reflect on this truth. I am being lived. Use moments of stress as cues to remember that life itself is orchestrating your actions. Whether you're in the middle of a heated conversation or making critical decisions at work, breathe deeply and let go of the urge to control. Allow the realization to permeate your mind that your role is not to direct every outcome, but to respond with awareness to what life presents. This practice fosters a state of non-resistance, where actions arise naturally, guided by the deeper current of existence. As you continue to transcend personal doership, you may feel lighter, more grounded, and less consumed by the need to succeed or the fear of failure. You'll notice that your decisions become less frantic and more intuitive, rooted in presence rather than pressure. This transformation doesn't mean that ambition or drive fades away. Rather, they become purified of ego, flowing from a place of genuine inspiration. Life becomes less about proving something to yourself or others and more about harmonizing with the rhythm of existence. The process is ongoing, but each glimpse of non-doership deepens your sense of freedom and peace. The flow state in bliss. The flow state is that sweet spot where action becomes effortless, and you lose track of time, not because you're disconnected, but because you're fully immersed. It's the sensation of being so engaged that your sense of self dissolves, and life moves through you like a river. This state of bliss is the epitome of non-doership, where the ego steps aside and allows the universe to act through you. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists experience it when creativity pours out effortlessly, and spiritual practitioners recognize it as unity with the divine. It's the ultimate expression of being lived rather than living through personal will. Achieving the flow state is not about forcing yourself into it, but about creating the conditions where it naturally arises. The paradox is that the harder you try to enter flow, the more elusive it becomes. Instead, focus on removing resistance, surrender to the moment, and let go of the need to control. Think of a surfer riding a massive wave, balanced yet completely at the mercy of the ocean. There's no time to think or strategize, just pure presence and harmony. This is why practicing non-doership in everyday life primes you to access the flow state, as it dissolves the ego's grip and invites effortless action. Bliss in the flow state doesn't come from the outcome, but from the process itself. Whether you're composing music, writing, or simply going for a run, the joy arises not from reaching a goal, but from being completely absorbed in the act. The mind becomes quiet, and the usual chatter about success or failure fades away. It's as if the universe is using you as an instrument, playing a melody that you are both part of and witness to. This state of harmony is not just a mental trick, but a profound spiritual experience that echoes the teachings of karma yoga, action without personal doership. One practical way to cultivate flow is through mindfulness practices that anchor you in the present. Try focusing on repetitive, simple tasks like washing dishes or walking. Instead of rushing through, immerse yourself fully in the sensations, the feel of the water, the rhythm of your steps. You'll find that even mundane activities can become gateways to the flow state when performed without resistance. Set aside time to engage in creative pursuits without worrying about perfection or validation. The goal is to allow life to express itself through you, unimpeded by the ego's desire for control or recognition. The beauty of living in the flow state is that it transcends the duality of pleasure and pain. You no longer act with the hope of success or the fear of failure. Instead, your actions become harmonious extensions of the present moment, free from the burden of personal ambition. This doesn't mean abandoning your aspirations, but rather pursuing them from a place of grace rather than strain. When bliss becomes your baseline, challenges lose their sting, and triumphs feel less intoxicating. You're no longer caught in the cycle of highs and lows, but find a consistent, peaceful rhythm in the dance of life. Forgiveness and breaking the cycle of karma. Forgiveness is not just an act of kindness towards others, it's an act of liberation for yourself. Holding on to grudges and regrets ties you to the very karmic cycle you're trying to escape. Each moment of resentment keeps you anchored to the past, dragging your spirit down like a ship weighed by anchors. The ego loves to hold on to blame, convincing you that harboring anger somehow protects your dignity. But the truth is, this attachment only perpetuates suffering. Breaking the cycle of karma requires dissolving the bonds of pride and guilt through the radical act of forgiveness. When you forgive, you don't excuse harmful actions, you simply release the energy that keeps you bound to them. Imagine carrying around a heavy stone in your heart, every grievance adding more weight until you can barely move. Forgiveness is the act of setting down that stone and reclaiming your freedom. It's not about minimizing the harm done or pretending it didn't affect you. Instead, it's about recognizing that holding on to pain only reinforces karmic attachments and prevents you from moving forward. You don't forgive because the other person deserves it. You forgive because you deserve peace. The moment you let go, you're no longer defined by the hurt, but by the strength to rise above it. Breaking the cycle of karma means dismantling the emotional patterns that keep you stuck in samsara. Pride and guilt are two of the biggest culprits, feeding off the illusion that you're personally responsible for every outcome. Forgiveness cuts through this illusion, allowing you to see that life itself played out through you and the other person involved. It doesn't mean ignoring accountability, but it does mean releasing the need to hold yourself or others hostage to past mistakes. By doing so, you disrupt the karmic loop that keeps repeating through lifetimes. A powerful practice for cultivating forgiveness is using mantras that remind you of your essence beyond pride and guilt. One effective mantra is, "I am being lived," repeated with intention and focus. Guided meditation also plays a vital role in breaking karmic chains, as it immerses you in a state of acceptance and release. Imagine visualizing the person you resent, seeing them not as an adversary, but as a fellow traveler shaped by their own conditioning and circumstances. This perspective doesn't justify their actions, but transforms your relationship with the pain they caused, giving you the power to move beyond it. When you forgive, you don't just free yourself from past burdens, you open yourself to new possibilities, unshackled by the emotional weight of old wounds. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but each step towards forgiveness breaks another link in the chain of karma. As you practice forgiveness consistently, you build the strength to face life's challenges without the baggage of resentment. You become resilient, compassionate, and aligned with the flow of existence. By releasing the grip of old narratives, you make room for a new story, one written not from bitterness but from freedom and inner peace. Mantra and practice. Mantras are powerful tools for rewiring the mind and breaking the cycle of karmic attachments. They are not just words, they are vibrational frequencies that align your consciousness with deeper truths. One of the most potent mantras for dissolving the illusion of personal doership is, "I am being lived." This simple phrase holds the power to dismantle the ego's grip, reminding you that life itself is moving through you rather than you moving through life. Repeating it consistently shifts your mindset from being the doer to being the vessel through which actions unfold. It's not just a thought, it's a declaration of surrender to the divine flow. To integrate this mantra into your daily life, set an alarm on your phone to go off every few hours. When it rings, pause whatever you're doing and repeat the mantra to yourself with full awareness. Close your eyes if possible, take a deep breath and feel the weight lifting off your shoulders as you acknowledge that life is guiding you. This practice may feel strange at first, as the ego resists letting go of control. But over time, the repetition will create a groove in your consciousness, allowing you to naturally adopt a mindset of non-doership. It's a gentle yet powerful way to rewire your habitual thought patterns. Incorporate the mantra into meditation sessions as well. Start by sitting comfortably, closing your eyes, and taking a few deep breaths. As your thoughts begin to settle, start repeating, "I am being lived internally," allowing the words to resonate throughout your body. Let each repetition become softer and more natural, like a wave gently washing over the shore. The goal is not to force concentration, but to relax into the feeling of being carried by life itself. As your practice deepens, you may notice subtle shifts in how you approach daily tasks, less tension, more presence, and a profound sense of ease. Mantras are not just about repetition, they are about embodying the truth behind the words. To enhance your practice, combine the mantra with physical activities where you tend to feel tension or stress. Whether it's during a workout, a walk, or even cooking, let the phrase, "I am being lived," accompany your movements. This subtle integration ensures that the mantra becomes part of your being, rather than just a fleeting thought. You'll find that this simple practice dissolves the need to control outcomes and anchors you in the effortless flow of action. As the mantra takes root, it becomes more than just a phrase, it transforms into a state of being. You no longer feel like the one pushing against life's currents, but rather flowing naturally within them. The mantra acts as a constant reminder that your identity is not defined by effort or willpower, but by surrender to the divine rhythm. Over time, your actions become more intuitive, less burdened by doubt or fear. The transformation is subtle yet profound, revealing a newfound clarity and an unwavering sense of peace. This practice not only breaks the illusion of personal doership, but also nurtures a deeper connection to the universe, where each moment unfolds without resistance. Guided meditation. Guided meditation is a powerful tool to reinforce the understanding that life is living you, not the other way around. It's not about forcing the mind to be still, but rather allowing thoughts and sensations to arise without clinging to them. Imagine sitting comfortably, eyes closed, and taking a deep breath as a gentle voice guides you through the realization that you are being lived. The essence of the practice is surrender, letting go of the need to control your experience, and simply allowing life to unfold through you. This approach dissolves the illusion of personal doership and aligns you with the natural flow of existence. One effective guided meditation practice begins with grounding yourself in the present moment. Sit with your spine straight and your hands resting comfortably. As you breathe in, silently repeat the mantra, "I am being lived." As you exhale, feel the weight of your thoughts releasing, sinking into the awareness that life is acting through you. Allow sensations to come and go without judgment. Whether it's tension, calmness, or fleeting worries, let them be as they are. You are not the thinker, but the witness to thoughts flowing like a river. This simple acknowledgement shifts your consciousness from being the doer to being the observer of life's unfolding. As the meditation deepens, visualize yourself as a wave on the ocean, rising, cresting, and falling without resistance. Feel how the ocean's vastness moves you without any effort on your part. This image helps break the rigid sense of individuality and brings a sense of unity with the whole. You are not separate from life. You are an expression of it. Let go of any attempts to direct the experience. Just as a wave cannot separate itself from the sea, you cannot separate yourself from the flow of existence. By immersing yourself in this realization, the illusion of personal doership dissolves naturally. Incorporating guided meditations regularly will deepen your sense of non-doership and cultivate a state of inner peace. You can find pre-recorded sessions that resonate with this philosophy, or even record your own using the mantra, "I am being lived." The key is consistency, allowing the practice to become a natural part of your routine. Over time, you'll notice a reduction in stress and a lightness that comes from no longer feeling solely responsible for every outcome. You'll start to experience life as an effortless unfolding rather than a relentless struggle for control. Guided meditation doesn't just offer temporary relief, it rewires your perception of self and action. As you practice, the line between you and life blurs, revealing a deeper truth. You are not the actor but the stage on which life performs. This understanding leads to a state of profound acceptance, where even challenges are seen as waves in the ocean of experience. You cease fighting against the current and instead embrace the rhythm of existence with grace and humility. Through guided meditation, you cultivate the ability to move through life without resistance, grounded in the awareness that you are being lived, not living by force. Liberation from pain and pleasure. Liberation from the cycle of pain and pleasure is one of the most profound transformations on the spiritual path. We're conditioned to chase pleasure and avoid pain, as if these fleeting sensations define our worth or happiness. Yet, the pursuit itself becomes a trap, binding us to the cycle of samsara. The ego thrives on these opposites, convincing us that we must constantly strive for pleasure while fleeing from discomfort. But true liberation lies not in avoiding one or clinging to the other, but in seeing both as transient waves in the vast ocean of existence. When you stop being ruled by the desire for pleasure and the fear of pain, you discover a deeper, unwavering state of bliss. The paradox of pleasure and pain is that both are inseparable, one giving birth to the other. When you achieve something you've longed for, the pleasure is sweet, but it inevitably fades, leaving a void that fear and longing rush to fill. Similarly, pain feels unbearable in the moment, but when it passes, relief brings a sense of peace. This endless oscillation traps you in duality, never allowing you to rest. Liberation comes when you realize that neither pleasure nor pain is truly yours. They are simply experiences moving through the space of your awareness. You are not the wave. You are the ocean embracing both the crest and the trough. To transcend the grip of pleasure and pain, cultivate equanimity, the capacity to experience both without attachment. One way to practice this is through mindful observation. When you feel pleasure, instead of immersing yourself in its sweetness, notice how it arises and fades. When pain hits, observe it without resisting or labeling it as bad. This practice reveals the impermanence of both sensations, helping you remain steady regardless of external circumstances. Over time, you develop an inner stillness that isn't shattered by life's ups and downs, grounding you in a deeper state of being beyond emotional reactivity. One of the most practical ways to break free from this cycle is to shift your focus from outcome-driven actions to purpose-driven ones. Instead of pursuing goals solely for the pleasure they promise, engage in actions that resonate with your core values and align with your sense of purpose. When your intention shifts from seeking gratification to living authentically, pleasure and pain lose their sway over you. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition or joy, but rather acting from a place of inner fulfillment rather than craving. The result is a balanced existence where pleasure becomes a gift rather than an obsession, and pain becomes a lesson rather than a curse. Freedom from the cycle of pain and pleasure doesn't mean becoming numb or indifferent. It means recognizing that your happiness is not tied to transient experiences but rooted in the unchanging awareness that observes them. You stop being tossed around by every wave of emotion and instead find calm within the turbulence. This state of non-attachment is not about rejecting joy or avoiding suffering, but embracing both as aspects of the human journey. By doing so, you cultivate a resilience that allows you to navigate life's storms without losing your center. True liberation is not the absence of feeling, but the freedom from being controlled by it. Self-realization and oneness with life. Self-realization is the ultimate awakening to the truth that you are not separate from life itself. It's the profound recognition that you are not just an individual entity struggling to survive, but the very essence of existence manifesting through form. The wave does not claim independence from the ocean, nor does the dream separate itself from the dreamer. In the same way, your sense of individuality is merely a fleeting expression of a vast, unified consciousness. To realize this oneness is to dissolve the illusion of personal doership and surrender to the effortless unfolding of the universe. This is not just a philosophical idea, but a living experience of unity with all that is. The journey to self-realization often begins with glimpses, fleeting moments of pure presence where the ego's grip loosens. Perhaps it's during meditation, when thoughts settle and a profound stillness emerges. Or maybe it's in nature, where the majesty of the mountains or the endless horizon evokes a sense of timelessness. In these moments, the boundary between you and the world blurs, revealing that you are not an independent actor but part of a vast, interconnected flow. The challenge lies not in grasping this truth intellectually, but in embodying it through practice and surrender. One of the most effective ways to nurture self-realization is through contemplative practices that question the nature of the self. Sit quietly and ask, "Who am I beyond my thoughts and actions?" Let the inquiry lead you deeper into the awareness that witnesses both thought and silence. The more you explore this space, the clearer it becomes that your identity is not fixed but fluid, not individual but universal. You are not the doer, but the force moving through all things. This realization doesn't make you passive. It aligns your actions with the natural harmony of existence, where effort gives way to flow. Living from this place of oneness transforms how you perceive challenges and achievements. Instead of feeling burdened by personal responsibility or inflated by success, you act with grace and humility, knowing that life itself is expressing through you. You become less reactive, more accepting, and deeply rooted in the present moment. Even mundane activities like cooking or cleaning become acts of devotion, as they are no longer tasks to be conquered, but expressions of life moving through you. This shift dissolves the relentless drive to prove yourself, allowing you to act from a place of peace rather than ambition. Ultimately, self-realization is not about abandoning your identity, but seeing through its illusion. It's about understanding that your true nature is both the wave and the ocean, both the dream and the dreamer. You are the force behind the action, not the individual claiming the credit. This awakening is not reserved for saints or sages. It's accessible to anyone willing to look beyond the ego's veil. As you deepen this realization, the world no longer feels like a hostile arena, but a divine play where every role, including yours, is sacred. The sense of separation fades, and you embrace the truth that life is not happening to you, it's happening as you. Bhakti Yoga and Divine Love. Bhakti Yoga is the path of supreme devotion, where the soul surrenders to divine love, dissolving the boundaries between self and the infinite. It's not about rigid practices or striving for perfection, but about becoming love itself, merging every breath and heartbeat with the divine essence. This path transcends logic and intellect, leading directly to the heart where love reigns supreme. Imagine giving yourself entirely to something greater than yourself, like the sun warming the earth without seeking praise or acknowledgement. That's the spirit of Bhakti, to love without condition, to worship without expectation. You're not praying to get something, but to become something, an embodiment of love. The beauty of Bhakti Yoga is its raw simplicity. It doesn't require elaborate rituals or sophisticated knowledge, but an open heart willing to give and receive love. You might find yourself singing a mantra like, I am love, not just as a repetition, but as an embodiment of that very truth. Whether it's through chanting, dancing, or quiet reflection, the essence remains the same, a wholehearted offering of yourself to the divine. This love isn't tied to any one form or tradition. It's the recognition that God exists in every atom, every breath, and every heartbeat. When you practice bhakti, you're not just performing rituals, you're pouring your soul into every act of devotion. Bhakti Yoga teaches that the greatest act of love is to serve without attachment. Every moment becomes an opportunity to turn mundane actions into offerings. Whether you're cooking a meal or comforting a friend, do it with the mindset that you're serving the divine through your actions. This mindset burns away karma and purifies your intentions, aligning your soul with the flow of divine grace. The practice is not just about feeling good or appearing virtuous. It's about becoming a vessel through which divine love flows. The more you practice, the more your actions become effortless expressions of devotion, merging your will with that of the universe. In the practice of bhakti, surrender is not a sign of weakness, but of immense spiritual strength. You let go of your ego-driven desires and open your heart to be guided by a higher force. It's like being carried by a powerful current rather than trying to swim against it. This surrender doesn't make you passive or indifferent, but more alive and attuned to the subtle presence of the divine in every moment. You're not losing control. You're gaining a deeper sense of purpose that transcends personal ambition. It's an experience of radical transformation, where love is no longer just a feeling, but a way of being. Bhakti Yoga challenges the ego's desire to claim ownership of love and devotion. Instead of acting from pride or fear, you act from a place of unconditional giving. You're not driven by the hope of reward or recognition, but by the sheer joy of being in harmony with divine will. This profound state of surrender leads to self-realization, where you see yourself not as a separate entity struggling for validation, but as an inseparable part of the divine dance. It's not about achieving enlightenment. It's about embodying love so completely that there is no room for anything else. Feminine and masculine approaches. The path of Bhakti Yoga is often seen as a feminine approach to spirituality, not because it's weak or passive, but because it embraces surrender, devotion, and the fluidity of love. It's the art of melting into divine presence, where emotions and feelings become sacred expressions of the soul's yearning. In contrast, the masculine approaches like Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga are more structured, disciplined, and intellectual. They aim to conquer the mind through rigorous practice, concentration, and introspection. One is not superior to the other. They are complementary forces that, when balanced, lead to holistic self-realization. Both energies exist within us, regardless of gender, shaping how we navigate the spiritual path. The feminine approach, seen in both Bhakti and Karma Yoga, revolves around love, service, and surrender. It's about engaging with life as a devotional offering, seeing God in everything and everyone. It's the act of pouring your heart out without expecting a return, trusting that divine love will guide and sustain you. The masculine approach, rooted in Raja and Jnana Yoga, emphasizes mastery over the mind and direct knowledge of the self. It's like standing atop a mountain, seeing the vastness of existence with clarity and detachment. While Bhakti immerses itself in the ocean of love, Raja and Jnana strive to perceive the ocean from above, understanding its depth without being consumed by it. Think of it like dancing versus planning a performance. The feminine approach flows with the rhythm, losing itself in the music, while the masculine approach meticulously crafts each step to achieve precision. Neither is better, they are two sides of the same coin. The dance becomes truly magical when both elements harmonize, devotion guiding action, and awareness grounding love. In practical terms, a balanced spiritual practice might include moments of heartfelt worship alongside disciplined meditation. By allowing both approaches to coexist, you create a dynamic spiritual path that honors both the heart's passion and the mind's clarity. Swami Vivekananda taught that love without knowledge can become blind attachment, while knowledge without love can become dry intellectualism. The harmony between Bhakti and Jnana ensures that devotion does not descend into fanaticism, nor does wisdom become arrogance. Similarly, Karma Yoga complements Raja Yoga by turning disciplined action into an act of love rather than rigid duty. Integrating these approaches means embracing your own dual nature, the passionate lover and the discerning thinker, the devoted servant and the wise sage. This balance makes spiritual practice not only powerful, but also deeply human and relatable. Learning to blend these energies is an ongoing journey, requiring awareness of when you lean too heavily on one side. If your devotion becomes obsessive or sentimental, bring in the grounding presence of wisdom and contemplation. If your intellectual pursuit becomes cold or detached, rekindle the warmth of love and service. The goal is not to suppress one in favor of the other, but to let them enrich each other. As you walk this path, notice how devotion and discernment shape your experiences, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of your true nature. The heart of Bhakti Yoga. The heart of Bhakti Yoga is pure devotion, a radical practice of turning every action into an act of love and worship. It's about dissolving the ego, that persistent illusion of separation, and merging with the divine through complete surrender. Imagine your life as an endless love offering, where even the simplest tasks become sacred acts. Whether you're cooking a meal, helping a friend, or simply sitting in quiet reflection, every moment becomes an opportunity to honor the divine presence within and around you. This isn't about being overly sentimental or performing rituals for show. It's about embodying love as your natural state, flowing effortlessly from the heart. One of the most transformative aspects of Bhakti Yoga is learning to see God in everything. You stop compartmentalizing your spiritual practice and start living devotion in every breath. The way you speak, the way you move, and even the way you think all become aligned with your intention to serve and love unconditionally. This practice softens the heart, melts away pride, and brings a sense of peace that transcends circumstances. You're no longer struggling to assert control over life. Instead, you're embracing the flow with grace and humility. Bhakti Yoga doesn't ask you to renounce the world, but to love it fiercely, seeing divinity in the mundane. Turning your life into a continuous act of worship requires mindfulness and intention. A practical way to cultivate this is by repeating the mantra, "I am love," throughout your day. Let it echo within you as you go about your tasks, reminding yourself that your essence is love itself. When challenges arise, instead of reacting with frustration or blame, pause and breathe in the mantra. Feel how it dissolves tension and brings you back to the present moment. This simple practice not only grounds you, but also infuses your actions with a sense of purpose and devotion. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present and willing to love despite imperfection. Bhakti Yoga encourages a deep sense of humility that naturally arises when you stop claiming ownership over your actions. You realize that every act of kindness, every loving word, and every gesture of compassion is not yours to boast about. It's life expressing itself through you. This surrender doesn't make you weak or passive. On the contrary, it empowers you to act with clarity and dedication, knowing that you are part of a greater purpose. You're not striving to impress or to gain recognition, but simply to honor the divine essence that permeates all existence. In this way, even the most ordinary acts become extraordinary. To truly embody Bhakti, it's essential to nurture the heart chakra, the center of unconditional love and compassion. Practices like chanting, singing devotional songs, or simply sitting in silent contemplation help open this energetic center, allowing love to flow freely. Connect with the beauty around you in nature, art, or human connection, and let your heart respond with gratitude and reverence. The more you immerse yourself in this practice, the more you realize that love is not something you do, it's what you are. Bhakti Yoga becomes not just a spiritual path, but a way of being, where love becomes the guiding force behind every thought, word, and action. Divine madness and God intoxication. Divine madness is that beautiful, chaotic state where the soul is completely consumed by love for God, a state of total surrender where logic and reason lose their grip. It's not a madness that leads to confusion or despair, but one that fills the heart with an overwhelming sense of unity and bliss. This is the kind of intoxication that makes saints dance, poets weep, and mystics lose themselves in ecstatic devotion. It's a fire that burns away ego and fear, leaving only pure love. When you are in this state, you don't just feel love, you become love. You are no longer bound by mundane concerns or social expectations because you have tasted the nectar of divine presence. Imagine being so lost in devotion that nothing else matters. It's not about rejecting the world, but about being so saturated with love that every action becomes an expression of that ecstasy. The Sufi mystics call it God intoxication, where one's very being dissolves into the divine. It's as if your heart becomes too vast to be contained by your body, pouring love into every corner of existence. This madness is not chaotic but deeply harmonious, where your soul aligns with the divine pulse of the universe. You see beauty everywhere, in the simplest flower, in the laughter of a child, in the quiet hum of the city. The world becomes your beloved, and every breath is a hymn of praise. The journey to this state is not linear or predictable. It doesn't come from calculated effort or rigid discipline, but from an abandonment of the need to control. The Bhakta devotee surrenders completely, allowing the divine presence to take over, guiding every thought and action. It's like giving the reins of your life to a force far wiser and more compassionate than your limited understanding. You might fear losing yourself in this madness, but it's not a loss. It's a return to your true essence. You shed the false identity that craves validation and instead embrace the identity of a lover, forever devoted and endlessly grateful. One practical way to invoke divine madness is through ecstatic practices like kirtan, devotional singing, where repetition of God's names unlocks a torrent of love from within. Chanting becomes not just an act, but a living prayer, where the sound reverberates through your being, shattering illusions and melting away doubts. Let yourself be carried by the rhythm, allowing your body to move and your voice to rise without inhibition. This is not performance, it's communion. The more you lose yourself in the sound, the closer you get to touching that blissful madness where nothing but love remains. Living with divine madness means accepting that not everyone will understand your path. Some might see your devotion as irrational or excessive. Let them. Their opinions are mere whispers against the roaring fire within you. Don't seek validation for your love, and don't measure it by how others respond. Bhakti Yoga is an intensely personal journey, one that transcends societal norms and logical reasoning. Allow yourself to be a little mad, to laugh, cry, and dance with no one watching. Embrace the paradox of being completely surrendered, yet vibrantly alive, knowing that this divine intoxication is the gateway to self-realization and ultimate freedom. The role of beauty and love. Beauty is not just an aesthetic experience, it's a direct invitation to touch the divine. In Bhakti Yoga, beauty and love are intertwined, each amplifying the other in an endless dance of devotion. When you witness something truly beautiful, like a radiant sunset or a melody that stirs your soul, your heart chakra naturally opens, and for a moment, you feel utterly connected to something greater. That feeling of awe is more than just appreciation, it's a glimpse into the divine essence. Beauty becomes a sacred kiss from the beloved, reminding you that love is not a distant concept, but a living force permeating every moment. This recognition of beauty is not limited to grand, majestic scenes. It's found in the smallest details, the sparkle in someone's eyes when they laugh, the gentle sway of leaves in the wind, or the quiet comfort of solitude. When you allow yourself to be moved by these simple moments, you're practicing bhakti without even realizing it. You're merging your consciousness with the divine presence that radiates through all creation. The mistake most people make is rushing through life without pausing to savor these gifts. To truly embrace the bhakti mindset, slow down and let your heart respond to the world's subtle, beautiful expressions. In Bhakti Yoga, beauty is not just seen, it's felt. It's a visceral response that leaves you breathless, grateful, and inexplicably moved. When your heart opens to beauty, it naturally fills with love. You don't have to force this connection. It happens effortlessly when you're fully present. The challenge lies in breaking free from the mind's constant chatter, which tends to reduce beauty to mere aesthetics rather than an experience of oneness. When beauty is truly seen, love flows freely, dissolving barriers and reminding you of your inherent divinity. This is why spiritual practices like chanting and dancing are so powerful. They immerse you in beauty and love simultaneously. Swami Vivekananda often spoke of beauty as a reflection of divine love, urging us to see God in everything beautiful. He understood that beauty is not about perfection, but about resonance, a harmony between your soul and the world around you. Whether you're admiring a work of art or listening to birds singing at dawn, allow yourself to be captivated without analyzing or judging. This kind of openness is what transforms ordinary experiences into acts of worship. It's the practice of letting beauty shape your awareness, leading you into deeper states of divine ecstasy and realization. Make it a practice to seek beauty intentionally, not as a distraction from pain, but as a reminder of your connection to the divine. Take time each day to notice something beautiful, a small flower growing through concrete, a stranger's kindness, or a passage from a sacred text that stirs your soul. Let these experiences awaken a sense of gratitude and devotion, knowing that each moment of beauty is an opportunity to connect with the divine essence. As your awareness sharpens, you'll begin to see beauty even in challenges, recognizing that love is not limited to pleasant experiences, but flows through every facet of life. Swami Vivekananda and Para Bhakti. Swami Vivekananda was a visionary who understood the transformative power of Bhakti Yoga like no other. He saw devotion not as blind faith or mere sentimentality, but as a potent force that could transcend the limitations of the human ego and bring about profound self-realization. In his teachings, he emphasized the concept of para bhakti, the highest form of devotion where love becomes so pure and intense that the devotee and the divine merge into one. This state of supreme devotion burns away all traces of selfish desire, leaving only the luminous presence of divine love. To reach this level requires not just dedication, but a willingness to surrender completely. In his passionate speeches, Vivekananda spoke about love as the most powerful force in the universe. He challenged people to go beyond ritualistic worship and embrace a devotion that is alive, vibrant, and fearless. Real bhakti, according to him, is not about clinging to dogmas, but about feeling God's presence so intensely that nothing else matters. It's the kind of love that transcends all worldly attachments, transforming even mundane tasks into sacred offerings. Vivekananda encouraged his followers to cultivate this burning love through constant practice and unwavering commitment, reminding them that the goal is not just to worship God, but to become one with God. Para Bhakti is the culmination of devotion, where the heart knows no separation. It's not just about praying or chanting, but about living every moment in divine consciousness. Imagine waking up each day not as an individual struggling through life, but as a vessel of divine love, flowing effortlessly with grace and compassion. That's the essence of Para Bhakti, a love that knows no boundaries, no limitations. Vivekananda insisted that this state could not be achieved through mere intellectual understanding or half-hearted practice. It demands total immersion, where love itself becomes your identity, and devotion becomes your very nature. One of the practical teachings Vivekananda offered was the idea of selfless service as an extension of bhakti. To him, serving humanity was the highest form of worship because it meant seeing God in every soul. He advocated acts of kindness not as a duty, but as a spontaneous expression of divine love. Whether feeding the hungry, educating the illiterate, or comforting the suffering, he believed that serving others was a direct path to realizing one's oneness with the divine. This radical approach broke down the barriers between spirituality and social responsibility, merging devotion with action. To practice Para Bhakti in your own life, start by dedicating your actions to the divine. Whisper a prayer before each task, offering the results to God without attachment to the outcome. Reflect on the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, allowing his words to ignite the fire of devotion within your heart. Read his works, especially Bhakti Yoga and complete works of Swami Vivekananda, to immerse yourself in his revolutionary ideas on love and selflessness. Let his message guide you beyond mere belief into the lived experience of divine union. As your devotion deepens, you'll realize that love itself is the ultimate power, capable of transforming not just your life, but the world around you. Oneness and the elimination of fear. Oneness is not just a spiritual ideal, it's the fundamental reality that transcends all division. Fear arises when the mind perceives separation, creating an illusion that you are isolated from the rest of existence. This illusion breeds anxiety, insecurity, and the constant need to protect your identity. But when love blossoms, fear evaporates, because love inherently understands that nothing is truly separate. Bhakti Yoga teaches that when your heart opens to divine love, the illusion of separation crumbles, and you experience a profound sense of unity. You're not just loving God as something external, you're merging with the very essence of life itself. Imagine the courage that comes from knowing you are one with the universe, that nothing exists outside of you, and nothing can truly harm you. Fear loses its power when you recognize that love is the fundamental fabric of reality. This realization is not just comforting, it's transformative. You start living from a place of fearless compassion, guided not by the ego's desire to protect itself, but by a deeper sense of connection. You no longer act from fear of loss or rejection, but from a genuine desire to express love in every action. This shift dissolves the constant tension of self-preservation and replaces it with the peace of unity. One of the most practical ways to cultivate oneness and eliminate fear is through shared giving and acts of service. When you extend love without expecting anything in return, your sense of separateness naturally fades. Volunteer at a shelter, help a neighbor in need, or simply listen to someone's troubles without judgment. These acts break down the barriers that the ego erects, reminding you that love is a shared experience. The more you practice selfless service, the more your heart expands and fear loses its grip. You begin to see that every soul is a reflection of the divine, and in serving others, you are serving God. Bhakti Yoga also encourages practices that open the heart chakra, allowing love to flow freely and dissolve fear at its root. Chanting mantras like, "I am love," can help anchor you in this awareness. Meditating on divine presence, whether as a deity, nature, or pure consciousness, helps bridge the gap between the self and the infinite. As you breathe in, imagine drawing divine love into your heart. As you breathe out, release all fear and doubt, letting them dissolve into the vast ocean of existence. This simple practice rewires your consciousness, aligning it with the truth that you are never alone and never separate. Living from a place of oneness doesn't mean ignoring practical challenges or denying the reality of conflict. It means approaching life with a fearless heart, grounded in the knowledge that love is the core of every experience. You stop seeing others as threats or obstacles and start recognizing them as extensions of your own being. This perspective transforms relationships, softens judgments, and cultivates a sense of peace that remains unshaken by external turmoil. The more you embrace oneness, the less power fear holds over your life, and the more your actions naturally flow from a place of divine love. The three powers of love. Love is not just a fleeting emotion or a romantic ideal. It's a transformative force that possesses immense power. In Bhakti Yoga, love manifests through three fundamental powers: one-pointedness, burning away karma, and shared giving. These powers do not merely change how you feel, they change how you live. They realign your soul with divine intention, clearing away the debris of ego-driven actions and opening the path to self-realization. Understanding and cultivating these powers transforms love from a passive sentiment into an active, dynamic force that propels you towards spiritual evolution. One-pointedness is the ability to focus your love and devotion entirely on the divine, without distraction or wavering commitment. It's like aiming a beam of light directly at the heart of your beloved, unwavering and pure. This concentration of love cuts through doubts and fears, uniting your intentions with your actions. Imagine dedicating each thought, word, and deed to a single purpose, honoring the divine in all you do. Practicing this kind of focus not only purifies your intentions, but also amplifies the power of your devotion. You are no longer scattered by conflicting desires, but aligned with a single, unwavering goal of divine connection. Burning away karma is the natural consequence of this focused devotion. As love intensifies, it consumes the residual traces of past actions, like a fire that purifies metal. This doesn't mean that challenges or difficulties cease to exist, but that your relationship with them changes. Instead of resisting or resenting hardships, you embrace them as opportunities to deepen your love and surrender. Each act of selfless devotion burns away another layer of karmic residue, gradually liberating you from the cycle of action and reaction. You no longer view karma as a burden, but as fuel for transformation, a necessary catalyst for spiritual growth. Shared giving is the third power of love, rooted in the understanding that true devotion cannot be contained or hoarded. Love must be expressed and shared, spilling over from your heart into the lives of others. This giving is not transactional or calculated, it's spontaneous, driven by an inner compulsion to bless and uplift. Acts of kindness, service, and compassion are not performed to gain merit or recognition, but as natural expressions of your overflowing devotion. The more you give without attachment, the more you align with divine love, breaking the cycle of selfish motivation and nurturing a spirit of harmony and balance. To embody these three powers of love, start small but with intention. Practice one-pointedness by dedicating your morning routine entirely to divine contemplation, whether through chanting, meditation, or silent prayer. Allow that focus to set the tone for your day. Engage in conscious acts of giving without expecting anything in return, even if it's just offering a smile or a listening ear. Let your acts of service burn away your attachment to results. As these practices deepen, love ceases to be a mere feeling and becomes a powerful force that drives every action and thought. This transformation doesn't just elevate your spiritual practice, it completely redefines how you relate to life itself. Unconditional love and non-transactional devotion. Unconditional love is the essence of Bhakti Yoga, a love that flows freely without expectation or demand. It's not about loving to receive, but about loving because it's your very nature to do so. When your heart overflows with devotion, there's no room for conditions or calculations. You're not trying to bargain with the divine, nor are you seeking a reward. Instead, your love becomes a gift, given without the slightest desire for recognition. This purity of intention transforms your practice from mere ritual to a living, breathing expression of divine connection. It's love for love's sake, nothing more, nothing less. One of the most profound challenges in practicing unconditional love is confronting the ego's tendency to expect something in return. Whether it's validation, comfort, or a sense of accomplishment, the ego subtly tries to turn love into a transaction. Bhakti Yoga calls for a radical shift away from this mindset. It's about offering your heart completely, without weighing the benefits or outcomes. Imagine holding a flower in your hands and offering it to the divine, knowing that it may wither without ever being acknowledged. Your devotion is not diminished by the lack of response, because it was never about being seen. It was about expressing your innermost essence. The purity of unconditional love requires vigilance against subtle expectations. Even when we believe we are giving selflessly, there's often a hidden desire for appreciation or acknowledgement. To dissolve this tendency, practice offering acts of kindness without revealing your involvement. Perform good deeds anonymously, letting the universe be your witness. The more you let go of needing credit, the lighter your spirit becomes, and the more genuine your love becomes. It's not about diminishing your worth, but about transcending the ego's desire for validation. This is the heart of non-transactional devotion, giving purely because love is who you are. Living with unconditional love means recognizing that every soul is worthy of devotion, regardless of how they treat you. It's easy to love those who appreciate your efforts, but the real test lies in loving without discrimination. Bhakti Yoga teaches that every being is a reflection of the divine, and loving one means loving all. Even in conflict, even in rejection, your love remains unwavering because it's rooted in your own divine nature. This doesn't mean allowing yourself to be mistreated or manipulated, but rather maintaining a sense of compassion even when distance is necessary. Love becomes a state of being rather than a fleeting emotion. To nurture unconditional love, incorporate the mantra, "I am love," into your daily routine. Let it serve as a reminder that love is not something you do, but something you are. Engage in practices that reinforce this mindset, such as journaling about moments when you felt the impulse to expect something in return and consciously choosing to release that expectation. Reflect on how letting go of transactional thinking makes your love feel more vibrant and liberating. As you embrace non-transactional devotion, your relationship with the divine deepens, and you experience a profound sense of fulfillment that no worldly reward could ever match. Radical practice of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is not for the faint-hearted. It demands a radical transformation of how you approach love, devotion, and service. This practice is not just about praying or chanting. It's about living with such intense love that every action, every thought, and every breath becomes an offering to the divine. It's a path where you don't just talk about love, you become love. It's radical because it goes against the grain of egoic thinking, which constantly seeks validation and recognition. True Bhakti breaks down these walls, leaving you exposed, vulnerable, and completely open to the divine current flowing through you. To fully embrace this radical practice, you must be willing to see God in everything and everyone, even those you find difficult to love. Imagine walking down a crowded street and consciously recognizing every soul as an expression of the divine. Whether it's a stranger, a friend, or someone who has wronged you, see them through the eyes of unconditional love. This mindset isn't about ignoring faults or accepting harmful behavior, but about transcending judgment and embracing the inherent divinity within all beings. You love not because they deserve it, but because love is your natural state. It's a fearless love that doesn't waver, even in the face of rejection or misunderstanding. This approach requires you to move beyond convenience and into radical self-giving. Whether it's helping a neighbor, offering support to a friend in crisis, or even showing kindness to someone who has hurt you, your actions become powerful acts of devotion. The radical nature of Bhakti Yoga lies in its refusal to categorize people as worthy or unworthy of love. Love flows indiscriminately, like sunlight touching all things without preference. It's not about perfection or flawlessness, but about being relentlessly committed to expressing love without conditions. This relentless devotion to love cultivates harmony and balance in your life, dissolving inner conflict and external resistance. One practical way to deepen your commitment to this radical practice is by consciously transforming mundane tasks into acts of worship. Washing dishes? See it as a way to serve the divine. Stuck in traffic? Use that time to repeat the mantra, I am love, and bless those around you. This mindset doesn't mean neglecting responsibilities, but rather infusing them with a spirit of devotion. It's about shifting from doing tasks to offering them as acts of service. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to move through life with a sense of purpose and connection, even in the most ordinary moments. Radical bhakti also means embracing divine ecstasy without fear or restraint. Let your heart overflow with love, whether through singing, dancing, or simply sitting in quiet contemplation. Don't hold back your devotion for fear of being misunderstood or judged. The world needs more people unafraid to express divine love, to live with reckless devotion that heals and uplifts. This kind of love is contagious. It transforms not only you but those around you. As you walk this path, let your devotion be so intense and unwavering that it challenges others to awaken their own hearts. Love without hesitation, serve without expectation, and let your very presence become a blessing to the world. Mantra and practice. Mantras are not just words. They are vibrational keys that unlock deeper states of consciousness and dissolve the illusion of separation. In Bhakti Yoga, the mantra, I am love, becomes a powerful declaration of your true nature. It's not a superficial affirmation, but a profound realization that transcends thought and feeling. When you repeat this mantra, you're not convincing yourself of something foreign. You're remembering an eternal truth. It acts as a bridge between your limited perception and the infinite love that resides within you. Through consistent practice, the mantra embeds itself into your consciousness, guiding your thoughts, actions, and intentions toward divine alignment. Integrating the mantra, I am love, into your daily life transforms your routine into a continuous practice of devotion. Start your morning by sitting quietly and repeating the mantra, allowing it to resonate in your heart. As the words flow, feel them vibrating through your entire being, dissolving tension and anxiety. Let the mantra carry you into a space where love is not just a concept, but a living presence. Throughout the day, whenever you feel overwhelmed or disconnected, pause and breathe in the mantra. Use it as a mental reset, realigning your awareness with your divine essence. This simple practice nurtures a sense of peace and helps you respond to challenges with compassion rather than frustration. To deepen the impact of this practice, pair the mantra with acts of service. When you cook for your family, chant softly as you prepare the meal, infusing your actions with love. When helping a friend, let the mantra guide your thoughts so that your support is genuine and free from egoic motives. Even during moments of conflict, silently repeat, I am love, to remain centered and grounded. This combination of inner repetition and outward service cultivates harmony, transforming mundane tasks into sacred offerings. Love becomes not just an emotion, but a force that flows naturally through you, shaping how you move and interact with the world. Consider also incorporating guided meditation focused on the mantra. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take deep breaths. Start by repeating, I am love out loud, gradually softening your voice until it becomes a whisper, and finally, an internal vibration. As you settle into the silence, feel the mantra echoing within your chest, like a gentle pulse of divine presence. Allow yourself to sink deeper into this state, letting go of thoughts and worries. Just be present with the vibration of love itself. This practice not only calms the mind, but also reorients your entire being toward unity and peace. Make the mantra a part of your life, not just a fleeting ritual. Set reminders on your phone to pause and repeat it throughout the day. Write it down on sticky notes and place them where you'll see them often, on your mirror, computer, or even your car dashboard. Let the words, I am love, become an inseparable part of your inner dialogue. The more consistently you practice, the more the mantra becomes embedded in your consciousness, reshaping your thoughts and reactions. You'll find that love flows effortlessly, not because you're forcing it, but because you've aligned your very essence with its vibration. Love in action. Love in action is the ultimate expression of Bhakti yoga, where devotion transcends words and manifests in every thought, gesture, and deed. It's about treating each moment as a sacred opportunity to honor the divine presence in yourself and others. Imagine a world where every interaction is rooted in kindness, where every act becomes an offering to God. This is not idealistic or naive. It's the highest form of practical spirituality. You're not just talking about love or feeling love, you're embodying it, channeling it through your very existence. Whether you're helping a stranger or comforting a friend, each act becomes a prayer, a tangible manifestation of divine love. One of the most transformative aspects of love in action is seeing God in everything. You're not just serving a person or fulfilling a duty, you're honoring the divine essence within them. This perspective completely changes how you approach daily tasks. Washing dishes becomes a meditation, cleaning your space becomes an act of worship, and every conversation becomes an opportunity to reflect grace. This mindset doesn't make you passive or overly submissive. Rather, it infuses your actions with a powerful, radiant energy that uplifts both you and those around you. You start living from the heart rather than the mind, driven by an inner compulsion to bless and serve. To practice love in action, start by dedicating your tasks to the divine. Whether it's your work, your hobbies, or your responsibilities at home, offer them as acts of devotion. Say to yourself, "This is for you, Lord," and let that intention guide your movements. If someone wrongs you, respond not with bitterness but with compassion, recognizing that their actions are shaped by their own struggles and conditioning. Let your response be rooted in forgiveness rather than retaliation. This doesn't mean becoming a doormat or ignoring injustices. It means choosing love even when it's hard, knowing that your strength lies in your capacity to transcend negativity. The key to sustaining love in action is consistency. It's easy to practice kindness when you feel inspired, but the real test comes during moments of stress, frustration, or doubt. When those feelings arise, pause and repeat the mantra, "I am love." Allow the words to anchor you back into your true nature. Notice how this shift softens your heart and guides your response toward empathy rather than reaction. Remember, love in action is not about grand gestures or self-sacrifice. It's about bringing the essence of love into the simplest moments. A smile, a kind word, a gesture of help. These are the small sparks that ignite a fire of transformation. As you practice embodying love, you'll notice a profound shift in how people respond to you. It's not about gaining approval or admiration. It's about becoming a living expression of devotion. Your presence alone becomes calming and uplifting, and you find that challenges lose their power to disturb your peace. This is the power of Bhakti Yoga at its peak. Not just loving God in the abstract, but loving God through every interaction, every responsibility, and every challenge. As love flows through you effortlessly, you become a conduit of divine energy, touching lives without even realizing it. Integration. Change how you relate to hardships. The essence of Bhakti Yoga is simple yet profoundly transformative. To live as love itself, to see divinity in every person and situation, and to turn every action into an offering. It's not about seeking perfection or forcing devotion, but about allowing love to naturally flow through you without resistance. You don't need to wait for special moments to practice this. Every day holds countless opportunities to integrate love into your life. Whether through a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply holding space for someone's pain, each act becomes a sacred ritual when performed with an open heart. The ultimate realization is that you are not separate from the divine. You are an expression of divine love itself. Living this truth requires consistency and courage, especially when life's challenges test your resolve. You might feel anger, frustration, or despair at times, but Bhakti Yoga doesn't demand that you suppress these emotions. Instead, it invites you to surrender them at the altar of divine love. When you allow your heart to remain open even in the face of pain, you transcend the duality of pleasure and suffering. You're no longer bound by the ego's need to protect itself or assert dominance. Instead, you become a vessel through which divine love can flow without hindrance. This practice doesn't make you passive. It empowers you to act from a place of unwavering peace and compassion. One of the most powerful aspects of Bhakti Yoga is its ability to dismantle the illusion of separation. When you truly see God in everything, fear dissolves, and a profound sense of unity emerges. You stop fighting against circumstances and begin to move in harmony with life itself. Challenges are no longer seen as obstacles, but as opportunities to deepen your devotion and express your unwavering love. Imagine being so rooted in divine love that nothing can shake your inner peace. That's the power of this path. It doesn't eliminate hardship, but it changes how you relate to it. You become resilient, centered, and fearless, knowing that love itself is your greatest strength. To keep this practice alive, immerse yourself in the teachings of great masters like Swami Vivekananda and saints from various traditions who embody divine love. Surround yourself with reminders of your true nature, whether through sacred texts, chanting, or devotional songs. Let your mantra, "I am love," become the rhythm of your life, guiding your thoughts and shaping your actions. Stay vigilant against the ego's attempts to claim credit or seek validation, and instead, offer every outcome to the divine. As you grow in this practice, your life transforms from a pursuit of satisfaction to a continuous expression of grace and harmony. The journey of Bhakti Yoga is not about achieving a distant goal, but about embracing the divine presence that already exists within you. It's a path of surrender, where the fire of love consumes all that is false and leaves only the pure, radiant essence of your being. Whether you're serving others, chanting mantras, or simply being present, let love be your guide. Remember, love is not something you must strive to become, it's who you already are. The more you recognize and embody this truth, the more your life will become a reflection of divine ecstasy and supreme devotion. Jnana Yoga and Self-Inquiry. Jnana Yoga, also known as the path of knowledge, is the pursuit of self-realization through direct self-inquiry. It's not about accumulating intellectual knowledge or memorizing sacred texts, but about piercing through the illusion of the false self to reveal the true essence of being. It challenges you to go beyond the surface of identity and dive into the core question: who am I? This path requires courage and persistence, as it demands the dismantling of deeply ingrained beliefs and egoic attachments. Yet it's through this fearless inquiry that one discovers the supreme reality, the unchanging self that witnesses all experiences without being tainted by them. One of the most profound aspects of Jnana Yoga is its emphasis on direct experience rather than theoretical understanding. While traditional practices may involve rituals or external devotion, Jnana Yoga insists on turning inward and questioning the very foundation of one's existence. Imagine sitting quietly, letting go of thoughts about the past and future, and simply asking, "Who am I?" Not seeking an intellectual answer, but allowing the question to dissolve into pure awareness. This method doesn't lead to more concepts or ideas. Instead, it strips away illusions, revealing the consciousness that exists beyond identity and form. Unlike other spiritual paths that encourage devotion or meditation techniques, Jnana Yoga demands self-inquiry as the primary tool for awakening. It's a relentless practice of questioning the I thought, which is the ego's way of claiming ownership over experiences and actions. By consistently examining the origin of this I, the seeker peels back the layers of conditioning and discovers that the ego itself is merely a phantom, an illusion created by habitual thought patterns. This realization does not come from intellectual effort, but from an intuitive clarity that emerges when the mind becomes silent and the self shines through. To practice Jnana Yoga effectively, you must be willing to let go of preconceived notions about who you are. Start by questioning every statement that begins with I am. Are you truly the body, the mind, or the emotions you experience? Or are you the witness that observes them all without being affected? This continuous self-inquiry cultivates a state of awareness that is both profound and liberating. You come to see that the true self is not the thinker, but the pure consciousness that observes the thinking. The practice becomes a master class in freedom, dismantling the ego's claims of personal doership and replacing them with the serenity of non-dual awareness. The beauty of Jnana Yoga lies in its simplicity. There are no rituals, no dogmas, no complex systems to memorize. Just the pure, raw question, who am I? This question, when asked with sincerity and persistence, cuts through illusions like a blade of truth. You're not trying to craft an answer or construct a new belief system. You're allowing the false self to dissolve, leaving only the supreme reality of consciousness. As the illusion of individuality fades, what remains is pure presence, the state of I am without any attachment to identity. This is the heart of Jnana Yoga, the journey from false self to true self, from illusion to liberation. Ramana Maharshi's teachings. Ramana Maharshi revolutionized the practice of Jnana Yoga by stripping it of unnecessary complexity and focusing on the essence of self-inquiry. His teachings weren't built on elaborate rituals or intellectual theories. Instead, they were rooted in the simple yet profound question, who am I? To Maharshi, this inquiry was not just a philosophical exercise, but a direct path to self-realization. He emphasized that the mind's natural tendency is to wander outward, attaching itself to objects, thoughts, and identities. The practice of self-inquiry, however, reverses this tendency, guiding the seeker inward to the very source of consciousness. What made Ramana Maharshi's approach revolutionary was his insistence on practical realization over theoretical understanding. He didn't encourage lengthy debates or intellectual gymnastics. Instead, he invited seekers to turn their attention inward and remain steadfast in questioning the origin of the I thought. He would often say that the I thought is the root of all other thoughts, and by dissolving this root, the entire structure of ego collapses. His presence alone was a testament to the power of this practice, as countless devotees experience profound inner peace simply by being in his presence. One of the most profound teachings of Maharshi was that liberation is not something to be achieved in the future, but realized in the present moment. He consistently pointed out that the self is already free, already pure awareness. The problem lies not in the self, but in the mind's identification with transient phenomena. By persistently questioning the source of the I, the seeker experiences a spontaneous unveiling of truth, where the false I dissolves into the infinite. Maharshi's method did not require complex meditation techniques or devotion to external deities. It was a raw, direct encounter with the reality of existence. Ramana Maharshi often used the analogy of a rope mistaken for a snake. When the light of awareness reveals that it's just a rope, the fear vanishes instantly. Similarly, when the light of self-inquiry exposes the ego as a mere illusion, the fear of suffering dissolves. The seeker realizes that the self has never been bound, never been limited. It's like waking up from a dream of captivity and realizing you were always free. Maharshi's teachings encourage seekers not to waste time intellectualizing or debating, but to immerse themselves in the practice and discover the truth firsthand. To embody Maharshi's teachings, dedicate time each day to sit quietly and ask, who am I? Let the question sink deep, not as a mental exercise, but as a sincere quest for truth. Whenever thoughts arise, trace them back to the root, I thought, and question its validity. Are you really the body, the mind, or the roles you play? Or are you the silent witness beyond all these layers? This practice, when done with dedication, gradually dissolves the false identity and reveals the true self, pure, unblemished awareness. As Maharshi often said, be as you are, for in that state, freedom is not something attained, but something realized as ever present. The I thought and the ego. The I thought is the subtle, yet pervasive seed of the ego, the root of personal identity that claims ownership over thoughts, actions, and experiences. It's the persistent voice that says, I did this, or I feel that, creating an illusion of a separate self acting independently. But in truth, this I is nothing more than a mental construct, a false identity arising from habitual patterns of thought and conditioning. Jnana Yoga challenges this illusion by directing the seeker to investigate the nature of the I thought itself, exposing it as a fleeting, impermanent phenomenon that has no real substance. Ramana Maharshi pointed out that the I thought is the first sprout of ego consciousness, the primary wave that gives rise to all other thoughts and perceptions. By fixating on this false identity, one becomes entangled in duality, endlessly chasing desires and avoiding fears. The ego's greatest trick is convincing you that it is who you are, that without it, you'd be lost or non-existent. Yet, through self-inquiry, it becomes apparent that the I thought is merely an impostor, hijacking pure awareness and pretending to be the self. When examined closely, it dissolves like a mirage under the light of direct observation. One practical way to tackle the I thought is to catch it as it arises. For instance, when you think, I am angry or I am happy, pause and ask, who is the I that claims this feeling? Don't settle for surface answers like, it's me or it's my mind. Probe deeper and notice that the thought itself is transient, appearing and disappearing within your awareness. The true self is the unchanging witness behind the thought, not the thought itself. By consistently practicing this questioning, the attachment to the false I weakens, and a sense of freedom begins to emerge. The ego thrives on association and attachment. It identifies with roles, achievements, failures, and even spiritual progress. But when you investigate its foundation, you find that it's nothing but a collection of memories and habitual reactions, a fictional character claiming to be the doer. In reality, actions happen through the body and mind, but the sense of personal ownership is just a conditioned response. The I thought does not initiate action, it merely claims it afterward. Once this is clearly seen, the ego loses its grip, and a vast sense of peace replaces the restless pursuit of self-importance. To break free from the illusion of the I thought, cultivate the habit of inwardly repeating the question, who am I, whenever the sense of ego arises. Let the question cut through the fog of mental chatter and bring your attention back to the witnessing awareness. Practice this especially during emotionally charged situations, where the ego tends to assert itself most strongly. As the false I loses its dominance, you'll find yourself moving through life with a lighter heart and a clearer mind, no longer bound by the illusion of personal doership. This realization marks the beginning of true inner freedom, a state untouched by pride or guilt, rooted in the purity of self-awareness. Self-inquiry technique. Self-inquiry is the cornerstone of Jnana Yoga, and it revolves around one profound question. Who am I? This question is not merely philosophical. It's an existential investigation into the root of all experience. The practice is deceptively simple, but requires unwavering dedication and sincerity. It's not about intellectually analyzing the concept of self, but about piercing through the illusion of identity to uncover the unchanging consciousness that lies beyond thought. By persistently questioning the I thought and tracing it back to its source, you gradually dissolve the illusion of ego and reveal the supreme reality of pure awareness. To practice self-inquiry, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and bring your attention inward. Begin by gently asking, who am I? Don't rush to find an answer. Let the question resonate in your awareness. When thoughts arise, trace them back to their origin. Who is thinking this thought? Who is experiencing this feeling? The goal is not to generate a mental response, but to allow the question to penetrate deeply, bypassing intellectual reasoning and settling into direct experience. You're not looking for answers, you're dismantling assumptions. As you practice, you'll notice that the mind resists this inward turning. It will throw distractions, memories, and emotions your way. But stay anchored in the inquiry. The secret is not to fight thoughts or suppress them, but to remain curious about their origin. If a strong emotion arises, instead of getting caught up in the story behind it, ask, who is feeling this emotion? Stay with the sensation itself, allowing the question to dissolve the attachment. With time and persistence, the habitual identification with thoughts begins to weaken, and you catch glimpses of the silent presence that remains when the false I is absent. One of the most profound shifts that occur through self-inquiry is the realization that the I thought itself is an illusion. It's merely a label the mind attaches to a fleeting sensation of individuality. Once this illusion is seen through, the sense of a separate self crumbles, and what remains is pure, undisturbed awareness. It's like the sky that remains untouched no matter how many clouds pass through. You realize that thoughts, feelings, and perceptions are just passing phenomena in the vast space of consciousness. None of them define or limit your true essence. To sustain the practice of self-inquiry, integrate it into your daily life. Instead of confining it to formal meditation sessions, carry the question with you throughout the day. When walking, eating, or working, periodically pause and inwardly ask, who am I? Let the question serve as a reminder to detach from the egoic narrative and return to the witnessing state. This continuous contemplation deepens your understanding and keeps you rooted in self-awareness, even amidst life's chaos. Over time, you'll find that your reactions become less charged, your mind more at peace, and your sense of self far more expansive and liberated. The I am state. The I am state is the fundamental realization of pure being, the recognition of existence without attaching labels, thoughts, or identities. It is the most primal experience of consciousness, existing before any concept of self or other. In Jnana Yoga, reaching the I am state means abiding in the sense of pure presence, undisturbed by the mind's incessant labeling and storytelling. It's the moment where the sense of individuality dissolves, and all that remains is the simple, undeniable awareness of being. This is not a thought or an idea. It's the direct experience of existence itself, beyond duality or separation. Ramana Maharshi often emphasized that the I am state is not something to be attained but recognized. It's always present, hidden beneath layers of mental noise and identification. To access it, one must quiet the mind and allow awareness to rest in its natural state. The practice is deceptively simple. Whenever thoughts arise, gently return to the feeling of I am, without adding any qualifiers. Not I am this or I am that, just the raw, untouched sense of being. This practice doesn't require any specific posture or ritual, just the willingness to let go of concepts and remain in stillness. One practical way to immerse yourself in the I am state is to begin each morning with a few minutes of silent contemplation. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on the simple awareness that you exist. Let thoughts come and go without engaging with them. Instead of analyzing or interpreting experiences, just rest in the feeling of presence. It might feel subtle at first, almost intangible, but with practice, the sense of I am becomes undeniably clear and vibrant. The more you abide in this state, the more you realize that your true nature is not defined by roles, opinions, or beliefs. It's the ever-present awareness itself. Nisargadatta Maharaj, one of the great masters of Advaita Vedanta, taught that holding on to the I am is the direct path to self-realization. He insisted that without identifying with thoughts or the body, one should simply dwell in the sense of being. His teachings are a master class in stripping away all that is false to reveal the essence of reality. According to him, The I am is the doorway through which one steps into the realization of the supreme reality. It's not enough to intellectually understand this. One must immerse themselves in the practice until the false identity falls away and only pure awareness remains. To deepen your practice, use the mantra, I am, as a grounding tool throughout your day. Whenever stress or confusion arises, silently repeat the mantra and let it guide you back to presence. Make it a habit to pause during daily activities, whether washing dishes or walking down the street, and silently affirm your existence with the simple recognition, I am. This practice gradually rewires your consciousness to rest in its natural state rather than being caught up in the ego's endless storytelling. The result is a profound inner calm and an unshakable sense of being rooted in the truth of your existence. The unwavering commitment to the I am. Nisargadatta Maharaj was a master of direct realization, known for his uncompromising focus on the I am state as the sole path to self-realization. His teachings cut through the complexities of spiritual practice with a fierce simplicity. Hold on to the sense of I am and reject everything that does not align with it. He didn't entertain philosophical debates or abstract theories. Instead, he encouraged his followers to relentlessly focus on their own existence, discarding every thought, concept, and identity that arose. According to Maharaj, the only real practice is the continuous awareness of being, not as a person or an individual, but as pure consciousness itself. One of Maharaj's core teachings was the necessity of unwavering commitment to the I am state. He taught that everything else, the body, the mind, desires, and fears, are mere distractions, like clouds passing through the sky of awareness. The sky remains untouched, no matter how turbulent the storm. Similarly, your true self remains unaltered despite the constant flow of thoughts and emotions. By holding on to the sense of I am, without identifying with any specific attribute or story, you remain rooted in your true nature. This practice dissolves the illusion of duality and brings about the direct experience of non-dual consciousness. Nisargadatta's approach may seem stark and challenging, but it's precisely this radical simplicity that makes it so powerful. He didn't believe in elaborate rituals or intricate philosophies. He believed in the direct path. To him, the constant repetition of I am was not a mere affirmation, but a portal to the absolute. He encouraged seekers to disregard thoughts and perceptions as temporary and focus solely on the feeling of existence. Whenever distractions arose, his instruction was simple: return to the sense of I am. This consistent practice would eventually erode the ego's stronghold and reveal the vast, unchanging presence that lies beyond identification. A practical way to embody Nisargadatta's teachings is to make the I am practice part of your daily routine. Upon waking, before engaging with the world, sit quietly and feel your own existence. Let the thought I am resonate within you, without trying to define or expand upon it. Throughout the day, whenever your mind becomes agitated or scattered, silently repeat, I am, and feel the immediate centering effect. This simple yet profound practice grounds you in presence and strips away the layers of mental clutter that obscure the true self. Over time, it becomes a natural state rather than a deliberate effort. Nisargadatta's mastery was not in the complexity of his words, but in the absolute clarity of his practice. He insisted that seekers must remain vigilant, not allowing the mind to create stories around the I am or turn it into an intellectual concept. Instead, one must live in that state, breathe it, move from it, and let it permeate every aspect of life. It's not about thinking I am, but about being it, without interference from thoughts or concepts. This dedication leads to the ultimate realization that the self is not an entity but pure awareness itself, untouched, unchanging, and ever-present. Progress and self-inquiry. Progress in self-inquiry is not marked by grand revelations or mystical experiences, but by subtle, profound shifts in perception. One of the most telling signs is the decreasing intensity and frequency of ego-driven thoughts. As the practice deepens, the mind becomes quieter, and the tendency to identify with fleeting emotions or thoughts diminishes. Instead of being consumed by mental chatter, there's an increasing awareness of the stillness that underlies all activity. You might notice that even in chaotic situations, a calm presence remains untouched, like the eye of a storm. This inner quiet is not forced. It's a natural consequence of realizing that the ego's narrative is just that, a story, not reality. Another sign of progress is the speed with which you catch the false I as it arises. In the beginning, egoic thoughts can dominate your awareness, dragging you into emotional reactions and mental loops. But as your practice of self-inquiry matures, you begin to spot these tendencies almost immediately. The questioning becomes instinctive. Whenever a thought arises claiming ownership or identity, you automatically ask, who is experiencing this? This quickened response reflects a heightened state of awareness where the ego's grip is significantly weakened. You start to feel less reactive, more grounded, and remarkably resilient in the face of challenges. One of the most beautiful transformations during this journey is the growing appetite for silence and solitude. You find yourself less interested in distractions and more drawn to quiet reflection or meditation. Social interactions become more intentional and less compulsive, as you no longer seek validation through constant engagement. This doesn't mean withdrawing from life, but living from a place of inner fullness rather than neediness. You become more attuned to the beauty of simplicity, a sunset, a gentle breeze, or the sound of your own breath. These moments become rich and fulfilling because your mind is no longer cluttered with restless thoughts and conflicting desires. Another clear indicator of progress is a deeper sense of detachment from the outcomes of your actions. You realize that personal doership is an illusion and that life unfolds according to its own rhythm. This realization doesn't make you apathetic. Rather, it empowers you to act with clarity and purpose without being weighed down by the pressure of results. You still care about what you do, but you're not consumed by worry or pride. This shift brings a sense of liberation, a lightness in your step, and a calm assurance that you are being guided rather than controlling everything. Finally, as your self-inquiry practice matures, the taste for philosophical debates and intellectual discussions about spirituality diminishes. Instead of analyzing or theorizing, you're drawn to the direct experience of being. You feel an increasing comfort with not knowing and an acceptance of the mystery of existence. The desire for conceptual understanding fades, replaced by a profound appreciation for simply being present. This state of equanimity is not about apathy, but about finding fulfillment in awareness itself. Your progress is not measured by how much you understand, but by how deeply you experience the peace of your true self. Mantra and practice. Mantras in Jnana Yoga are not merely repetitive chants. They are powerful tools for centering awareness and dissolving the illusion of the ego. Among the most potent is the simple yet profound mantra, "Who am I?" This question is not just a linguistic phrase. It's a key that unlocks the gateway to self-realization. When used consistently and sincerely, it cuts through the layers of mental conditioning and brings the mind back to the present moment. The purpose of this mantra is not to generate intellectual answers, but to dissolve the false sense of individuality that the ego clings to. It's a relentless inquiry that leaves no room for illusions or superficial identity. The most effective way to practice the mantra is to integrate it seamlessly into your daily routine. You don't need a special place or ritual to engage with it. While walking, sitting, or even performing mundane tasks, repeat inwardly, "Who am I?" Allow the question to echo through your consciousness without rushing to fill the void with thoughts. When emotions arise, whether it's anger, frustration, or joy, pause and ask, "Who is feeling this?" Let the question cut through the surface reaction and penetrate to the core of awareness. This practice becomes a living meditation, dissolving the ego's narrative in real time. The power of the mantra lies in its simplicity and persistence. The mind will inevitably resist, offering answers or spinning stories to reclaim control. But your task is not to argue or analyze, it's to keep asking, to keep cutting through the mental fog with the sword of inquiry. When practiced consistently, this mantra reveals the undeniable truth. The I that claims ownership of thoughts and actions is nothing more than a phantom. Realizing this brings immense relief and a profound sense of freedom as you stop identifying with the fleeting experiences and rest in the awareness that witnesses them. Incorporating the mantra into guided meditation can amplify its effectiveness. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and gently breathe. As you inhale, mentally affirm, "Who am I?" As you exhale, let go of any preconceived notions or mental constructs. Allow the question to dissolve into the stillness between breaths. Whenever thoughts intrude, don't resist them. Simply redirect your focus back to the mantra. Over time, this practice builds a powerful momentum where the question becomes second nature, effortlessly guiding your awareness back to the source. To make the practice even more effective, set an intention before you begin. For example, dedicate the session to uncovering the true self rather than merely calming the mind. Use reminders throughout the day, a simple note on your phone or a sticky note on your mirror that reads, "Who am I?" This consistent engagement with the mantra rewires your habitual patterns, making self-inquiry not just a practice but a way of life. The mantra becomes your silent companion, always guiding you back to the still, silent awareness that is your true nature. The self is not the thinker, but the awareness. Self-inquiry is not a one-time realization, but a continuous living practice. It's not enough to intellectually grasp the idea that the ego is an illusion. You must consistently embody that understanding through direct experience. The desire for freedom from the false, I must burn with unwavering intensity, guiding every thought, action, and intention. As long as the sense of personal doership lingers, the practice must go on. The beauty of this path lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require rituals, pilgrimages, or complex doctrines. All it demands is a relentless dedication to questioning the root of identity and abiding in the awareness that follows. Freedom from the false I is not a destination. It's an ongoing realization that deepens with practice. Even as glimpses of the true self become more frequent, the ego can subtly reassert itself through pride or complacency. The practice of asking, "Who am I?" must continue even after profound realizations, maintaining the vigilance needed to prevent the mind from reclaiming control. Self-inquiry is a journey of shedding layers, not accumulating knowledge. It's about experiencing life from a state of pure awareness, untouched by the stories the mind constructs around identity and personal importance. To integrate self-inquiry into everyday life, develop the habit of spontaneous questioning whenever the ego tries to assert itself. Whether it's in moments of pride, anger, jealousy, or confusion, pause and ask, "Who is feeling this? Who claims this experience?" Don't just settle for a surface answer. Dive deeper, noticing how the mind fabricates ownership. This habitual inquiry keeps the ego from solidifying and maintains a fluid state of awareness. Practice doesn't mean sitting cross-legged for hours, but staying alert in the midst of your daily activities. When self-inquiry becomes a natural response, freedom becomes a lived reality rather than a distant goal. A powerful way to deepen your practice is to combine the mantra, "Who am I?" with meditation. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take slow, deliberate breaths. As each thought arises, gently counter it with the question. Notice how thoughts lose their power when met with sincere questioning. If the mind goes silent, don't rush to fill the gap, rest in that silence. The goal is not to reach a specific state, but to remain attentive to the presence that exists beyond thought. This is the essence of Jnana Yoga, the direct realization that the self is not the thinker, but the awareness in which thoughts arise and dissolve. Remember, the practice of self-inquiry is not about forcefully eliminating thoughts, but about understanding their nature. It's the realization that awareness itself is never tainted or disturbed by what passes through it. As your dedication deepens, peace becomes your natural state, and the restless seeking of the ego gradually fades. You come to know that your true self is not something to be found, but something to be realized as ever present. This realization is not just freedom from suffering, but liberation into your inherent nature, pure, limitless awareness.